Chapter 470. The next afternoon, Taimo Shan. It was located at the border of Tsuen Wan District and Yuen Long District in the new territories of Hong Kong. It was the highest mountain in Hong Kong. Because of the terrain, it was foggy all year round, so it was changed to Mount Great Fog. At this moment, 3 people had arrived at Taimo Shan. Tang Ning, who was dressed in a white suit, was panting heavily. She pointed at the bamboo forest and peach mountain opposite her and said, "Master, Xin Xingye's grave is over there." Yi Chen lifted his head and looked over. He saw a lush bamboo forest and a peach forest that was approximately half a mile in radius standing on the mountainside less than 100 meters away from them. The peach forest was on the left while the bamboo forest was on the right. It was late autumn, and the bamboo forest was covered with crystal-clear dewdrop. Several birds could be faintly heard chirping from above. At the border between the peach forest and the bamboo forest, a tall tombstone stood in the middle of the forest. The tombstone was about 10 feet tall, and it was engraved with small words. At this moment, the tombstone had already sprouted many new buds. "That's strange." Tang Ning frowned and said, "Xin Xingye was buried less than 5 days ago. How could so much grass grow? Miss Tang, this isn't strange at all." Qi Qingfeng, who was lagging behind, stroked his beard and smiled. "You're not a spell master, so you don't understand the methods of a spell master. Once a spell master's cultivation reaches a certain level, it's normal for them to change the natural environment and weather. It's just like the saying goes, when the wind and clouds are angry, 100 flowers bloom. Of course, that's a legendary existence." The few of them approached the tombstone as they spoke. Qi Qingfeng looked around, then took out a compass and looked around. He frowned and said, "Master Yi, Miss Tang, there's something wrong with the feng shui of this place." "What's wrong?" Tang Ning was puzzled. Qi Qingfeng stepped on the ground and shook his head. "Look, this place is like a huge bowl. There's no azure dragon on the left, no white tiger roaring at the sky on the right, no jade table in front, and no Ping Mountain behind." Yi Chen and Tang Ning looked and realized that it was true. The surroundings were surrounded by mountains, and there was only a small piece of flat land in the middle. "Master Qi, just tell me directly. Is there something wrong with this feng shui?" Tang Ning was puzzled. She didn't understand the professional terminology of feng shui masters. Qi Qingfeng frowned and didn't reply. Instead, he took 7 steps forward with the compass in his hand. He circled around the cemetery, the peach forest, and the bamboo forest before arriving at his destination. The peach blossoms on the left and the green bamboo on the right. The layout is natural. As the saying goes, a young man in his 20s is crowned with flowers, but the heavens are jealous of his talent. Amazing, really amazing. I am ashamed of my inferiority. He nodded and shook his head like a lunatic. Tang Ning was a little impatient. "Master Qi, what do you mean by saying that the feng shui is wrong and now you say that it's powerful?" Qi Qingfeng awkwardly cupped his fists at Yi Chen and said, "Master Yi, the feng shui layout of this place is called Loving Mother's Sorrow." "What's a loving mother's sorrow?" Tang Ning asked subconsciously. Qi Qingfeng cleared his throat and said, "There's a saying in the 7 acupoints fixing scripture. The mountain is like a cracked bowl, and a loving mother mourns for her son. According to legend, after Sun Tzu died, his mother buried him in this feng shui treasure cave." Yi Chen suddenly understood. In fact, he really couldn't compare to the old man in front of him when it came to feng shui. Tang Ning said thoughtfully, "Master Qi, do you mean that this place is used to bury young people who died young?" "That's right. Young people who died young are also called greenthorn." Qi Qingfeng nodded slightly and said, "If this place is used to bury ancestors, the consequences will be that the descendants will have no descendants. Even if it's not that exaggerated, the family will still be destroyed. If it's used to bury greenthorn, it's perfect." At this point, he sighed softly and said, "Xin Tiannan is amazing. In a place as big as Hong Kong, He was actually able to find such a place. At first, he almost confused me. That's why I said he's amazing. Master, do you need me to order someone to come up and open the door now? Tongning couldn't care less. She subconsciously looked at the cemetery beside her and said to Yi Chen. She had already prepared people and tools at the foot of the mountain. No need. Yi Chen shook his head slightly. Then, he turned to face the cemetery in front of him and slowly said, "You guys step aside for now." No need? Tongning and Qi Qingfeng could only suppress the doubts in their hearts and step aside. In their hearts, they were curious about how Yi Chen would dig up the cemetery and take out the coffin without anyone's help. The next moment, Yi Chen formed a set of hand seals with both hands. Then, he pointed at the cemetery and shouted, "Rise!" Boom! The ground suddenly shook violently. The entire cemetery began to shake violently. Under the shocked expressions of Tongning, Qi Qingfeng, and the others, they saw a huge hole split open in the middle of the huge cemetery. A huge black coffin slowly slid out from the depths of the hole. "Master Yi, this is what you call divine power." Qi Qingfeng's heart trembled. Bang! A coffin heavily smashed onto the ground. Yi Chen raised his hand and waved. The lid of the coffin flew to the side. At that moment, Qi Qingfeng subconsciously took a few steps forward and stretched his neck to take a look inside. Tongning, on the other hand, shrank her neck and did not dare to step forward. It was as if he didn't dare to see what was inside. However, in the next moment, she heard Qi Qingfeng's surprised voice. "Miss Tang, Master Yi, there's no one in the coffin. This is an empty tomb." "That's impossible, right?" Tongning exclaimed and hurriedly went forward to take a look. She saw that there were only some clothes in the coffin. There was no corpse at all. "It's as I expected." Although Yi Chen didn't go forward, his divine sense was still able to see the situation inside the coffin clearly. Before coming to Hong Kong, he had suspected that Shin Tiannan's burial of Shin Xingye on Taiyamoshan was a scam. Therefore, after arriving in Hong Kong, he didn't go to the Tang family immediately. Instead, he came here first. He wanted to verify his guess. "He's a schemer, a schemer." Qi Qingfeng shook his head and smiled bitterly. Everyone thought that Shin Tiannan had really buried Shin Xingye here. They didn't expect that it was just a smokescreen to confuse the world. At this point, he frowned. But why did Shin Tiannan do this? He still didn't know that Shin Xingye had been buried in the corpse nurturing ground, so he didn't understand Shin Tiannan's true purpose. Tongning said angrily, "Master, Shin Tiannan lied to us and to everyone. Shin Xingye's body isn't here. What should we do now?" "Don't worry about it. Shin Tiannan has his tricks, but I have my tricks too." Yi Chen chuckled softly. He had a rough idea of where Shin Xingye was buried. At this moment, Tongning's phone rang. After saying a few words to the other side, her face couldn't help but turn pale. She hung up the phone and looked at Yi Chen nervously. Master Incher's men have already gone to the Tang family. P.S. The first chapter. There are still 3 chapters left. Post them when you're done. Chapter 471. The Tang family of Hong Kong. The Tang family was considered one of the top wealthy families in Hong Kong. Even the governor of Hong Kong had to make an appointment to visit them. After Shin Tiannan and Lei Feihu's deaths, the Tang family's influence was like the sun in the sky. At that moment, a group of uninvited guests arrived at the Tang family's house. To be precise, the Tang family was surrounded. There were about 20 people who were divided into 2 groups. One group was dressed in black while the other group was dressed in green. They blocked the entrance of the Tang family's villa. There was a pool of blood in front of them. There were black suits and black leather shoes on the blood. If one were to look closely, they would realize that the pool of blood was actually in the shape of a human. Meanwhile, the bodyguards hired by the Tang family blocked the entrance while trembling. They could not stop looking at the group of unfriendly people in front of them and spat, not daring to make a move at all. That was because someone could not help but make a move just now. One of them took out a gourd and turned him into blood. At that moment, a middle-aged man walked out of the Tang family's villa in a hurry. The Tang family's bodyguards were all shocked to see him. They immediately greeted respectfully, "Greetings, second master." It was the second son of the Tang family, Tang Guodong. At the same time, he was Tang Ning's biological father. Tang Guodong walked to the crowd with a grim face without saying a word. He looked at the 20 people in front of him and finally fixed his eyes on a middle-aged man. He said in a deep voice, "Wu Xiong, why did you bring so many people to my Tang family's house?" Wu Xiong was the chairman of Xiong, an investment group. He was one of the top 10 richest people in Hong Kong at the age of 40, and his companies were worth more than 50 billion yuan. I was wondering who it was. So it's second master Tang. In the face of Tang Guodong's questioning, Wu Xiong appeared very calm. We heard that old Master Tang is not feeling well, and old Master Tang is a leading figure in Hong Kong. As juniors, shouldn't we visit him? He pointed at the Tang family's bodyguards who were stopping them as he said to this point. He clicked his tongue and said, "However, your people refused to let us in no matter what, so we accidentally got into a conflict. Sigh, it's my fault. I'm not strict enough with my subordinate." "Humph." Tang Guodong snorted coldly and said rudely, "My father is just not feeling well. It's not that serious. Sorry for troubling you. Please go back now." Of course, he knew Wu Xiong's real purpose. It was nothing more than to see with his own eyes whether his father, Tang Yuanshan, was seriously ill. After all, Tang Yuanshan was the richest man in China and the pillar of the Tang family. If any accident were to spread, the foundation of the Tang family would definitely be shaken. Since old Master Tang's condition is not serious, why don't we invite him out to meet with us? Another white-haired old man stepped forward and said in an overbearing manner. Tang Guodong was infuriated. "Guolong, your Guo family has received my Tang family's kindness in the past. Do you want to be ungrateful now?" No matter what, he would not let these people in today. The old man's life was in danger. The heir of the Tang family, Tang Ning, was not around. If that happened, he would not be able to bear the consequences. At this time, a young man in a black robe with a sinister face laughed arrogantly. "Why are you talking so much nonsense with him? Let's just rush in." As his voice fell, Wu Xiong and Guolong's expressions tensed up. They did not dare to resist at all. They suddenly waved their hands and said, "Now, we suspect that the Tang family has fallen into internal strife. Tang Guodong has placed old Master Tang under house arrest in order to fight for the family property. Everyone, follow me to rush in and rescue old Master Tang." "How dare you?" Tang Guodong was almost angered to death. At this moment, a strong gust of wind blew, sweeping the few people at the front out on the spot. "Who is it?" The young man in black in the crowd looked as if he was facing a formidable enemy. The next moment, an old man in a Taoist robe with a slightly sage-like demeanor slowly walked out. The old man held a horsetail whisk in his hand, but his face was a little pale. "It's you, Fong Tianhua." The young man in black from before was shocked at first, then he sneered and said, "Why? Previously, you took a palm from my master and luckily didn't die. Now, you want to stop us, right?" The person who came was the leader of the northern sect in Hong Kong's spell world. Fong Tianhua. Hong Kong's spell world had flourished in the hands of Xiao Bai. After Xiao Bai's death, the orthodoxy was divided into two, the southern sect and the northern sect. The previous leader of the southern sect was in Daoyuan, while the leader of the northern sect was Fong Tianhua. Old Master Tang has done a great favor for the northern sect. You guys should quickly retreat. Fong Tianhua swept his horsetail whisk and said with a dispirited aura. He had only said 2 words when a trace of blood immediately flowed from the corner of his mouth. "What a joke!" The sinister young man from before smiled coldly. "You're just, get lost." Before he could finish speaking, a muffled sound of thunder came toward him. This sound immediately caused his ears to rumble. With fear in his heart, he said, "Fong Tianhua, don't be so arrogant. I'll go and invite my master now." Hong Kong's Jiulong City District, Shin Tiannan's former residence. A man in a gray robe was sitting cross-legged on a meditation cushion. The old man was motionless, as if he had been petrified. However, if one looked closely, they would discover that his eyes would flash with a red glow from time to time. In front of him were 2 rows of candlelight. As the red glow in the depths of his pupils stirred, a fist-sized flame split from countless candles and finally gathered to form a giant fireball in the air. At this moment, the sound of hurried footsteps could be heard. Then, the sinister young man from before knelt on one knee on the ground. "Master, I've already found out about the Tang family's disciples. It seems that old thing, Tang Yuanshan, really doesn't have long to live." "I don't want to know about this." The old man's eyes shone brightly. The giant fireball in the air immediately pounced on the sinister young man kneeling on the ground. The young man closed his eyes in despair. When he looked again, the fireball suddenly stopped in front of him and remained motionless. He forcefully suppressed the fear in his heart, took a deep breath, and said, "Master, the Tang family's ancestral grave is on the back mountain of the Tang family. We originally wanted to go in, but we were stopped by the Tang family. Moreover, Fong Tianhua also made a move." "Fong Tianhua?" The old man raised his hand and waved it. The fireball immediately scattered and returned to the surrounding candlelight. His voice was extremely hoarse as he said, "Fong Tianhua is just a defeated opponent of mine, Insher. How dare he ruin my plans? Forget it, I'll personally make a trip." Almost at that moment, in a villa in the Kun Tong district, an old man in black was facing the entire lotus pond alone. In front of him was an easel, and in front of the easel stood a naked woman. The woman's delicate body trembled incessantly, but she did not dare to leave. She seemed to be very afraid of the old man in black. In the face of the woman's fear, the old man seemed to not see it. He held the brush in his hand and seemed to be deep in thought. At this moment, an extremely enchanting woman in purple quickly walked over and said with a charming smile, "Master, that old thing Insher has already rushed to the Tang family." "Very good." The old man stopped and said confidently, "Rumor has it that the Tang family was very close to Xiaobai back then. The Tang family's ancestral grave was chosen by Xiaobai. After Xiaobai died, no one knew about the grave. That old thing, Insher, must have suspected that Xiaobai's grave is in the Tang family's ancestral grave. How can I miss out on such a good thing?" The old man smiled coldly and immediately turned to leave. An extremely cold voice drifted over from afar. "I don't like this woman. Kill her." As soon as these words were said, the naked woman in front of the easel fell to the ground. It was as if her soul had been sucked out. Chapter 472. Inside the Tang family's villa, Tang Guodong was currently surrounded by countless senior members of the Tang family. It could be said that he was in a terrible situation. On one hand, he had to appease the members of the Tang family, and on the other hand, he had to think about how to help the Tang family escape from this crisis. Shin Tiannan and Lei Feihu's forces had been taken in by Insher and Xianfeng. This was already an open secret, so everyone knew that the previous wave was just a test. "Second brother, in your opinion, how should the Tang family deal with this?" A middle-aged man sitting below asked in a deep voice. He was the third son of the Tang family, Tang Zui. Another core member of the Tang family said anxiously, "Second master, now that the old master's life and death are unknown, and that damned girl, Tongning, is not here, you are the only one who can make decisions in the entire Tang family. That girl, Tongning, is really something. She's still outside after such a big incident. If I had known this would happen, I wouldn't have let her be the heir." Everyone was talking at once, causing the entire hall to be noisy and chaotic. If it weren't for Tang Guodong, they might have already gone their separate ways. Only Fong Tianhua stood at the side with a horsetail whisk in his hand, not saying a word. Enough. Tang Guodong slammed the table. After everyone quieted down, he said in a deep voice, "Now is the moment of life and death for the Tang family. Everyone, don't panic. Only by uniting can we resist the foreign enemy. Second brother, why don't we just let them in to see the old master? I don't think they would dare to do anything to him." The third son of the Tang family, Tang Zhui, could not help but say, "Yes, I heard that Master Yinshe is a famous tame headmaster in Taibang. There's also that sage Xianfeng. He's ruthless. If we anger them..." His words immediately garnered the approval of many people. B****. Tang Guodong's face was ashen. "Third brother, is that what you're saying? The old master is already in such a state, yet you still dare to let outsiders in to watch? Do you think the old master won't die soon enough?" Tang Zhui remained silent resentfully. He had said that in a moment of desperation. In fact, even he understood that those people outside had ill intentions. They could not wait for the old master to die. Once the old master died, they would have a chance to nibble away at the Tang family. A charming woman in her 40s said, "Second brother, you have to give us a way to reassure everyone." Tang Guodong hesitated for a moment and finally said, "I just received a call from Little Ning. She said that she has already brought Master Yi over to our side. We just have to hold on for a while." "Grandmaster Yi? Which Grandmaster Yi?" Everyone looked at each other, their faces full of confusion. Tang Guodong explained, "Master Yi is the famous mad southern Yi in China. He even killed Shen Tianan and Lei Feihu a few days ago." As his voice fell, the crowd burst into an uproar. "What? It's him? How did Tang Ning meet Mad Southern Yi? If it's really Mad Southern Yi, then our Tang family is saved. However, could it be a lie?" Faced with the crowd's discussion, Tang Guodong took a deep breath and said, "Everyone, to be honest, our Tang family has already acknowledged Mad Southern Yi as our master in secret. This matter has also received the support of the old master, so what I said is absolutely true." Everyone was stunned at first, then they let out all sorts of exclamations of disbelief. Obviously, they were shocked by this news. "Our Tang family has acknowledged Mad Southern Yi as our master? Are you kidding me? No matter how strong Mad Southern Yi is, he's not qualified to be the master of our Tang family, right?" Someone immediately objected. The master of the Tang family. The weight of these words was too great. His words immediately received the support of many people, even the Tang family's third son, Tang Zhui, was no exception. "Second brother, why didn't I know about this? Only Little Ning, old master, and I know about this. Because it happened so suddenly, I didn't have time to explain it to everyone," Tang Guodong said in a deep voice. Tang Zhui frowned and could not help but look at Fong Tianhua. "Master Fong, do you think that Mad Southern Yi is really as the rumors say? Not only is he the #1 person in the ancient martial arts world in China, but he also killed Shen Tianan and Lei Feihu at the Longmen Convention?" Everyone immediately looked at Fong Tianhua subconsciously. "That's right." Fong Tianhua opened his eyes and nodded. Master Ye's strength is beyond this old man's imagination. At the age of 30, he became the #1 person in the ancient martial arts world. He also cultivates both magic and martial arts, and he possesses great supernatural powers. His words could be considered to have calmed many people down. Someone could not help but ask, "Master Fong, do you think that Mad Southern Yi will be a match for Yinshe and Xianfeng?" Everyone hurriedly shut their mouths and pricked up their ears. Even Tang Guodong was no exception. In reality, most people had only heard of how strong Yi Chen was and had never seen it with their own eyes. Meeting everyone's gaze, Fong Tianhua sighed softly and said, "This old man is not sure either. Logically speaking, Mad Southern Yi was able to kill Shen Tianan and Lei Feihu, so his strength is naturally not low. However, this time, he has to face Master Yinshe and Sage Xianfeng. At this point, he paused for a moment and continued, Yinshe is known as the great master of black magic in Taibang, and he is also the #1 person in Taibang. 30 years ago, he was only defeated by Shen Tianan by one move. For the past 30 years, he has been painstakingly cultivating, and my strength is only slightly inferior to Shen Tianan's. In the end, I was seriously injured by the other party's palm. He coughed a few times, and a trace of scarlet blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. From this, it can be seen that Yinshe is stronger than Shen Tianan. He might even have touched the legendary origin energy. Moreover, Xianfeng is the disciple of the late master of Macau, Master Gigu. If the two of them join forces, I'm afraid that mad Southern Yi. His voice gradually sank. Everyone's hearts sank as well. Obviously, they did not expect Yinshe and Xianfeng to be so strong. I think it's better to talk to Yinshe and the others openly. No matter what they want, we'll give them whatever they want. We can even recognize them as our masters, Tang Zui said hesitantly. Tang Guodong flew into a rage. Third brother, you. Second brother, don't blame me. Tang Zui braced himself and said, Master Fang has already said that mad Southern Yi is no match for Yinshe and Xianfeng. Therefore, even if he arrives in time, he won't be able to save our Tang family. Instead of that, we might as well take the initiative to surrender to them. Third Master is right. The young woman nodded in agreement. I heard that Yinshe has always wanted to find Shen Tianan to avenge his humiliation. Now that Shen Tianan has died in the hands of mad Southern Yi, why don't we trick mad Southern Yi into coming over? It can be considered as fulfilling the knot in Yinshe's heart. This way, he might let our Tang family go. As they were speaking, a young man rushed in panic. Second Master, it's bad. Master Yinshe and Sage Xianfeng have joined forces. What? At this moment, Tang Guodong, Fang Tianhua, and the others all stood up in shock. Their expressions were filled with shock. Both of them are here? Yes. The young man stammered. Fang Tianhua sucked in a breath of cold air and looked at Tang Guodong. Second Master, I suggest you take what Third Master said earlier. Tang Guodong's heart sank completely. Obviously, even Master Fang was not optimistic about mad Southern Yi. P.S. Chapter 3. There's still one more chapter. Chapter 473. In front of the Tang family's villa. Almost all the higher-ups of the Tang family had been mobilized. At this moment, they stood at the entrance of their villa, looking at the two old men in the crowd with nervous expressions. One of them was dressed in a long gray robe. His face was as withered as a piece of wood, and his entire body was very ordinary. However, if one looked closely, they would discover that there was a red vertical eye between his eyebrows. The vertical eye was like an earthworm wriggling faintly. The other person was dressed in black. His face was gloomy, and his eyes were as sharp as an eagle's. He held a dragon-headed walking stick in his hand, and his aura completely crushed the old man beside him. Tang Guodong squeezed out of the crowd and braced himself to walk in front of the two of them. Tang Guodong, the third son of the Tang family, greets Master Yinshe and Sage Xianfeng. Now, the Tang family was like a piece of meat on a chopping board, at the mercy of others. No matter what the other party's purpose was, the only thing he could do was to maintain his rationality. This was an inherent characteristic of being a member of the Tang family. I heard that old Master Tang is seriously ill, so the two of us came to visit him today. Sage Xianfeng held his dragon-headed walking stick and smiled arrogantly. Tang Guodong subconsciously blurted out, "Thank you for your kindness, but my father's health isn't that bad. Since there's no problem, then old Master Tang should have come out to see us. Could it be that he looks down on us?" Master Yinshe spoke in extremely fluent Mandarin. Tang Guodong's expression tensed up. "I wouldn't dare, but, since you wouldn't dare, then don't say, but." Sage Xianfeng coldly snorted and forcefully slammed the dragon-headed walking stick on the ground, causing the ground to violently tremble. Countless people staggered, and when they stabilized their bodies, their gazes towards him became incomparably shocked. "Why do you have to force us?" At this moment, Fang Tianhua walked out of the villa with a horsetail whisk in his hand. He said without fear, "To tell you the truth, old Master Tang is seriously ill now, and it's not convenient for him to meet guests." "Fang Tianhua, you are a defeated opponent and not a member of the Tang family. Since when is it your turn to speak?" Master Insher sneered, his brows full of disdain. A hint of ridicule appeared at the corner of Sage Xuanfeng's mouth. "I happen to know some medical skills. Since old Master Tang is seriously ill, why don't you let me in to take a look? Maybe I can treat him." The two of them were very firm in their attitude. Regardless of whether Elder Tang was sick or not, they had to go in today. "If that's the case, then get past me first." Fang Tianhua's expression was slightly cold. "Very good." A mocking expression appeared on Sage Xuanfeng's face. "I also want to see how strong the so-called leader of the northern sect after Master Shao is. I heard that fellow Insher defeated you with a single palm strike. In that case, I'll defeat you with a single palm strike." "Shameless boasting." Fang Tianhua snorted coldly, and the horsetail whisk in his hand suddenly expanded. Countless white silk threads were like a spider web that densely attacked Sage Xianfeng. Breaking character formula. Sage Xianfeng did not panic at all. After quickly writing the word "break" on his palm, he pointed his palm at Fang Tianhua and let out a shout. Bang! The horsetail whisk in Fang Tianhua's hand exploded with a bang, and he himself was sent flying backward. Then, he smashed onto the ground and spat out a mouthful of scarlet blood. "A piece of trash like him deserves to be the leader of the northern sect?" Sage Xianfeng smiled disdainfully. Everyone present was shocked by this scene. They were well aware of Fang Tianhua's strength, but they did not expect him to be sent flying by Sage Xianfeng with a single palm strike. This time, Tang Guodong's heart sank to the bottom. "Second brother, now that things have come to this, let them in." The second son of the Tang family, Tang Zhui, sighed softly and then walked in front of Master Insher and Master Xianfeng. "Masters, please don't make any more moves. We will allow you to enter." "Ha ha ha!" Sage Xianfeng laughed out loud and said, "You're still the tactful one." Master Insher smiled faintly. Just as he was about to enter, he suddenly heard Tang Guodong say, "To be honest, the Tang family has already recognized Mad Southern Yi as our master. Aren't you afraid of angering Mad Southern Yi with your actions?" As his voice fell, Master Insher and Sage Xuanfeng's footsteps immediately froze. They looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. A moment later, Sage Xianfeng slowly turned around and stared at Tang Guodong. "Has the Tang family really recognized Mad Southern Yi as their master?" Regarding the three words Mad Southern Yi, it could be said that his name was like thunder piercing his ears today. He was the #1 person in the ancient martial arts world in China. He had killed Yuan Bupo in the south, Northern Devil Jiang in the north, and Western Overlord Lu and 4 other masters. After that, he had killed a few half-step martial venerables. He had even killed Shin Tianan and Lei Feihu recently. Master Insher's expression was also somewhat solemn, although he was far away in Taibang. However, he also knew the inside story of Shin Tianan's death. "That's right. The Tang family has already recognized Mad Southern Yi as our master, and Mad Southern Yi is on his way here." Seeing that the two of them seemed to be a little afraid, Tang Guodong could not help but secretly rejoice. He hurriedly said, "Therefore, I hope that the two of you will let the Tang family go for Mad Southern Yi's sake." "What a joke!" Sage Xianfeng immediately said. "You said that Mad Southern Yi is the master of the Tang family, so that's it? Even if it's true, so what? Mad Southern Yi can kill Shin Tianan and Lei Feihu, but it doesn't mean that he has the strength to kill us." He had complete confidence in this. After all, in the path of cultivation, different masters meant different future strength. He, Xianfeng, was a disciple of Phantom Valley, who was as famous as Xiao Bai. Shen Tiannan's master was N Yuan's disciple, and N Daoyuan was Xiao Bai's disciple. The difference between the two was not only a difference in inheritance, but also a difference in seniority. In terms of seniority, Shen Tiannan still had to call him Master Xianfeng uncle. As soon as he finished speaking, Tang Guodong's expression suddenly changed. He did not expect sage Xianfeng to really not be afraid of Mad Southern Yi. Second brother, did you hear that now? Mad Southern Yi is definitely not a match for the two masters. Otherwise, why hasn't he arrived yet? I think he has found a place to hide and doesn't dare to show his face. Tang Zui shook his head. That's right. Master Insher, who had been silent all this while, smiled coldly. It's not a big deal for Mad Southern Yi to be able to kill Shen Tiannan. 30 years ago, there was only a small gap between me and Shen Tiannan. In these 30 years, I have painstakingly cultivated just to avenge my shame, but Shen Tiannan has slacked off. At this point, he shook his head, and the vertical eye between his eyebrows squirmed non-stop. Moreover, I am over 90 years old this year, and Mad Southern Yi is only in his 30s. I have eaten more salt than he has eaten rice. In terms of combat experience, he can't even compare to me. Well said. If Mad Southern Yi dares to appear in front of us now, my master can kill him with a raise of his hand. A bloodthirsty light appeared in the eyes of Master Insher's disciple, Tuoba. He did not believe that Mad Southern Yi was that powerful. In his opinion, if Mad Southern Yi dared to appear, his master wouldn't even need to make a move. As a disciple, he could even kill him. As his voice fell, a faint voice exploded in the crowd. Oh, is that so? Do you dare say that again? P.S. Fourth update. I've kept my word. I've made everyone wait for a long time. Chapter 474. Oh, is that so? Do you dare to say that again? As soon as this voice fell, everyone present was instantly shocked. Without waiting for them to react, Master Insher and Sage Xianfeng immediately leaped into the air and looked down as if they were facing a great enemy. Who is it? At the same time, the aura on their bodies erupted because they felt an extremely strong pressure from the voice just now. A black BMW slowly drove over from afar. As the car door opened, a graceful woman in a white suit walked out of the driver's seat with an umbrella in her hand. Xiao Ning. The moment they saw the woman, everyone from the Tang family was pleasantly surprised. The woman held the umbrella and respectfully walked to the back to open the car door. Then, a thin young man in a black outfit walked out of the car. Behind the young man was an old man in a Taoist robe, and the woman holding the umbrella hugged the young man on both sides. The young man waved his hand and asked the woman to remove the umbrella. Then, he slowly walked toward the crowd with his hands behind his back. He walked very slowly, as if he was taking a leisurely stroll, as if he did not see the hundreds of people present. Who are you? Master Insher and Sage Xianfeng, who were in the air, stared at Yi Chen. The two of them did not feel the slightest bit of cultivation from Yi Chen. However, a strong sense of crisis emerged in their hearts. It was as if they had encountered a life-and-death enemy. It was as if they had encountered a life-and-death enemy. Qi Qingfeng, who was behind Yi Chen, took a step forward and looked at Sage Xianfeng with a faint smile. Senior brother, this is Mad Southern Yi, Master Yi. As soon as these words came out, everyone was shocked. What? He's Mad Southern Yi? Even the people of the Tang family could not sit still. For a moment, countless gazes gathered on Yi Chen. There was shock, disbelief, and even more suspicion. Mad Southern Yi was simply too famous. However, they realized that Yi Chen looked like an ordinary young man. There was too much of a gap between him and Mad Southern Yi. You're Mad Southern Yi? Master Insher's disciple, Tuoba, was shocked at first, then a little excited. A bloodthirsty look flashed between his brows. He had just said that if Mad Southern Yi dared to appear, Master Insher would definitely kill him. He did not expect Mad Southern Yi to really appear. Do you dare to repeat what you just said? Yi Chen looked at him coldly. His tone was casual and casual. Mad Southern Yi, you came at the right time. Tuoba saw that there was not the slightest trace of aura on his body. In addition, with Master Insher by his side, he became even more proud. Outsiders say that you are the #1 person in the ancient martial arts world, and that you are a dual cultivator of magic and martial art. Today I, Tuoba, will ask you for some advice. Eat my fist. As he shouted, his body bounced up from the ground like a spring. He threw a punch at Yi Chen at an unfathomable speed. Not only was his punch extremely fast, but it was also filled with extreme power. His fist also emitted a green fist shadow. From afar, it looked like a cannonball. What a sharp punch! Many insiders exclaimed in surprise, their faces filled with shock. Even Sage Xuanfeng's expression was extremely solemn. He could sense that Tuoba was a master of ancient Muay Thai. His comprehension of fist arts had already reached the stage of materializing fist intent. Such a person was actually Insher's disciple. Anyone below the martial venerable level should retreat from Tuoba's punch. Master Insher landed on the ground, his face full of admiration. He knew Tuoba very well. When he was in Taibang, he practiced the purest secret technique of ancient Muay Thai in Taibang. He had also received the inheritance of Bodhisattva Jin Zhuo. Thinking of this, he could not help but look at Yi Chen. Mad Southern Yi, everyone says that you are the #1 person in the ancient martial arts world of China and that you have killed Shin Tianan and Lei Feihu, but I don't believe it. Today I will use Tuoba to test your limit. I want to see how you are going to take it. How can an overseas barbarian like you say the 3 words Mad Southern Yi? Yi Chen snorted coldly and took a step forward. The bones of his right hand appeared to be crystal clear. Then, he struck out with his palm. Not only is he not retreating, but he also wants to take Tuoba's punch head-on? Holy sh*t, isn't he being too arrogant? Crazy, I think he's really crazy. Many people were shocked when they saw his actions. He actually wants to take Tuoba's strongest punch. It's simply stupid. It seems that this Mad Southern Yi does not live up to his name. Master Insher sneered. Good move. Seeing that Yi Chen was being so arrogant, Tuoba felt as if he had suffered a great humiliation. A fierce glint flashed in his eyes, and his body expanded several times again. The muscles all over his body exploded, making him look like a ferocious beast in human form. Bang! Under everyone's unblinking gaze, Tuoba's punch accurately landed on Yi Chen's chest. However, it produced a loud bang, as if it had hit metal. The next moment, Yi Chen's palm directly landed on his head. A head spun 360 degrees at high speed. In the end, it flew into the sky, leaving only a headless corpse standing stiffly on the ground. The body maintained its previous inertia and took a few steps forward before finally falling to the ground with a thud, motionless. For a moment, the entire place was dead silent. Everyone's eyes widened as they watched this scene in disbelief. Master Insher and Sage Xianfeng were so shocked that they almost cried out. In the face of Tuoba's strongest punch, not only was Yi Chen fine, but he had also sent his head flying with a slap. His methods were extremely violent and shocking. How is this possible? Master Insher sucked in a breath of cold air. When he looked at Yi Chen again, a chill suddenly emerged in his heart. This person had such methods. No wonder he could kill Shin Tianan and Lei Feihu. A mere ant dares to be noisy in front of me? Yi Chen stood with his hands behind his back and shook his head slightly, as if he did not see the shock on everyone's faces. Greetings, Master Yi. Tang Guodong was the first to react. He suppressed the excitement in his heart and hurriedly walked to Yi Chen and cupped his fist. Master Yi. Yi Chen frowned slightly. How could Tang Ning not know what he was thinking? She immediately said to Tang Guodong, "Dad, greet Master. Master has come specially for the Tang family." Tang Guodong seemed to have woken up from a dream. He hurriedly bowed respectfully to Yi Chen and said, "Tang Guodong of the Tang family greets Master." Yi Chen's expression eased a little, and his gaze landed on Master Yinsher and Sage Xianfeng. "Who are they?" "Master, they are Master Yinsher and Sage Xianfeng." Tang Guodong did not dare to hesitate and quickly introduced them. After hearing this, Yi Chen took a step forward. His eyes were locked onto the two of them with incomparable indifference. He said word by word, "The Tang family has already recognized me as their master. Who gave you the guts to touch my people?" As soon as these words were spoken, the entire place fell silent. Chapter 475. One had to know that the person in front of Yi Chen was the number one person in Taibang, Master Yinsher and Master Gui Gu's disciple, Sage Xianfeng. However, Yi Chen's words were so merciless. "Mad Southern Yi, don't you dare be so arrogant." Sage Xianfeng, who had been silent all this while, flew into a rage. "Do you really think that you can look down on us just because you killed Shin Tianan and Lei Feihu? To tell you the truth, when I was dominating the world, you were still a baby who hadn't weaned off your mother's milk. Senior brother, Master Ye's strength is beyond your imagination. I advise you not to get caught in your own trap." Qi Qingfeng, who was beside Yi Chen, shook his head slightly and advised. Along the way, he had seen many of Yi Chen's methods. The more he interacted with him, the more he feared Yi Chen. In his mind, even his late master, Master Gui Gu, would not be able to win against Yi Chen. "Isn't this junior brother Qi?" Sage Xianfeng looked at him and smiled coldly. "Why, you're Master Gui Gu's disciple. When did you become Mad Southern Ye's lackey?" "Senior brother you." Qi Qingfeng frowned. Sage Xianfeng interrupted him. "That's good too. Today the two of us will fight each other. I want to see how much junior brother has improved over the years." "That's great." Master Yinsher immediately nodded. "No, no, no." Yi Chen nodded slightly and said with disdain, "You're thinking too much. I alone am enough to deal with you two pieces of trash." As his voice fell, the crowd burst into an uproar. Everyone was in an uproar. Even Qi Qingfeng was shocked. He could not help but say, "Grandmaster Yi, you, step down." Yi Chen looked impatient. Qi Qingfeng could only suppress his shock and retreat to the side. "Mad Southern Yi, I have to say, you're not just any kind of arrogant." Master Yinsher's expression was extremely gloomy. "Do you really think that the two of us are Shin Tianan and Lei Feihu? Fine, today I'll let you know how powerful I am. Yinsher I." He roared and then slapped his forehead. The vertical eye between his eyebrows suddenly split open, and a black pupil appeared from the crack. The black eyes flickered with incomparably evil colors, looking like a demonic eyeball. Almost in an instant, the black pupils suddenly shot out a beam of black light. "Mad Southern Yi, I've refined the Yinsher law after comprehending it for half my life. It just so happens that my body is about to decay. Why don't you hand your body over to me?" Master Yinsher laughed sinisterly. 30 years ago, after being attacked by Shen Tianen hundreds of times, he was dispirited. He walked in the deep mountains and rivers of Taibang in a daze all day long. However, he accidentally found this eyeball in a tomb. At that time, the eyeball was placed in a coffin, and there was no corpse in the coffin. For revenge, he used a knife to separate his head and forcefully fused the eyeball into his body. From then on, he realized that his mental strength had skyrocketed. He was clearly a spell master, but his mental strength had reached the level of origin energy. Under such powerful spiritual power, even an origin energy powerhouse would have to retreat. That was the real reason why he dared to step into China to seek revenge on Shin Tianan and was not afraid of Yi Chen. You want to compete with me, a cultivator, in divine telekinesis? And you want to occupy my body? Seeing this scene, a mocking smile appeared at the corner of Yi Chen's mouth. Cultivation was all about refining essence into qi, refining qi into spirit, and refining spirit to return to the void. After breaking through to the foundation building stage, Yi Chen's divine telekinesis had benefited from the divine grade Dao foundation, and it had skyrocketed countless times. A mere spell master who had not even entered the origin energy stage. How dare he compete with Yi Chen's divine telekinesis? Destroy! Master Yinsher did not notice the strange smile at the corner of Yi Chen's mouth. His pair of black eyes were filled with black energy, faintly discernible. The black light they emitted was like a giant beam of light that shot toward the top of Yi Chen's head. He was already in his 90s. If he did not enter the origin energy stage, he could only live for 100 years. Yi Chen's body was extremely tempting to him. Young. Dual cultivation of magic and martial arts. If only he could take over such a body, he, Yinsher, would definitely be able to reign supreme on earth. At the same time, a golden gleam flashed in Yi Chen's eyes. The golden gleam was like two crazily burning fire dragons. Wherever it passed, it caused the air to boil. Yi Chen's eyes seemed to have two balls of raging fire. The people at the side only felt that they had only taken a glance. They only felt a piercing pain in their eyes. This was the power of the golden pupil flame. Boom! Their mental powers collided in the blink of an eye. The resulting power caused the void to shake violently, like a muffled thunder. Ah! Yinsher felt as if his head was in pain. Following that, two balls of fire shot into his eyes, as if they were being burned by a raging fire. He took a few steps back on the spot, and finally fell heavily to the ground, letting out a series of incomparably shrill screams. My eyes, my eyes! When everyone saw this, they were overwhelmed with shock. At this moment, Yinsher's eyes were filled with tears of blood. The vertical eye between his brows had exploded on the spot, revealing his ghastly skull. It was a ghastly sight. You! How can your mental power be so strong? Yinsher covered his eyes and screamed in pain. During the exchange earlier, he felt that his mental power was instantly annihilated when it encountered Yi Chen's divine consciousness. It was like a drop of water falling into magma and instantly evaporating. Initially, he thought that even if Yi Chen was a dual cultivator of magic and martial arts, he was still an ancient martial artist. That was why he competed with him in mental power. He did not expect Yi Chen's mental power to be even stronger. A mere evil eye dares to show off in front of me? Yi Chen shook his head lightly. Subsequently, he looked at Sage Xianfeng, who was standing aside. He's already crippled. It's your turn now. Xianfeng could not help but take a few steps back when he heard that. All the hairs on his body stood on end. Mad Southern Yi, I'll leave now. Can you let me go? Initially, he planned to fight Yi Chen with Yinsher. However, Yinsher was more impatient. He went all out as soon as he arrived, not giving him a chance to attack at all. When he looked again, the powerful mental power that Yi Chen displayed completely shocked him. Where the F***ck did this freak come from? Xianfeng could not believe it. Yi Chen was so young, but his ancient martial arts, spells, physical strength, and mental power were all so heaven-defying. It was simply too shocking. Even if he started cultivating in his mother's womb, he shouldn't be this powerful, right? At the same time, everyone present was so shocked that they could not speak. They felt their hearts tremble. Especially the people from the Tang family. Initially, they did not have any hope for Yi Chen. Unexpectedly, Yinsher was crippled as soon as they fought, and Sage Xianfeng wanted to escape. Tang Guodong was even more glad that the Tang family had acknowledged Yi Chen as their master. It would be difficult for the Tang family to decline with such a terrifying existence. Mad Southern Yi, as long as you let me go, I'll return to Macau immediately and never come out again. Sage Xianfeng became even more terrified when he saw that Yi Chen was silent. Chapter 476. Let you go. Yi Chen's expression was cold, as if he wanted to look down on everything. Since you want to admit defeat, then you have to have the attitude of a loser. Kneel before me, and I might spare your worthless life. Bastard! No matter how strong his endurance was, Sage Xianfeng felt like his chest was about to explode after hearing this. All right, mad Southern Yi, you forced me to do this. After saying that, he took out a mirror from his body. It was a bronze mirror about the size of a palm. It was completely black, and it was covered with twisted patterns. The moment the mirror was taken out, Lin Fan's eyes widened. The expressions of Fang Tianhua, who was standing in the distance, and Qi Qinfeng, who was beside Yi Chen, changed at the same time. This is the Soul Catcher Mirror? There were two great treasures in the spell world of Hong Kong and Macau. One was the 9 Dragons Plate, and the other was the Soul Catcher Mirror. Among them, the 9 Dragons Plate was the personal magic treasure of Xiao Bai, the leader of Hong Kong's feng shui world. It was a magic treasure that Xiao Bai had refined from a 9 dragons formation when he traveled all over China. Once the 9 Dragons Plate appeared, one could see all the dragon veins in China at a glance. It could be said that it was a sacred weapon in the eyes of all feng shui masters in the spell world. As for the Soul Catcher Mirror, it was the heirloom of Master Gigu's faction in Macau and Hong Kong. It was said that after the caster shone this mirror on someone else, they could take away the other party's soul. However, with the death of Master Gigu, the Soul Catcher Mirror also disappeared without a trace. Some people thought that the Soul Catcher Mirror had been brought into the tomb by Master Gigu, so they gave up on the idea. Sage Xianfeng held the bronze mirror in his hand and looked at Yi Chen with a cold gaze. Mad Southern Yi, I'll call your name. Do you dare to agree? Everyone did not understand what he was up to. On the other hand, Qi Qinfeng and Fang Tianhua said in unison, No. As if sensing Yi Chen's doubts, Qi Qinfeng hurriedly said, Master Yi, you don't know this, but this bronze mirror is called the Soul Catcher Mirror. It's a treasure of Hong Kong. If my senior brother calls your name and you agree, your soul will be taken away. That's right, it's absolutely true. Fang Tianhua nodded. He looked at the bronze mirror in Sage Xuanfeng's hand with fear and said, Brother Qi, isn't it rumored that the Soul Catcher Mirror has been taken underground by Master Gigu? How did it end up in his hands? It must have been stolen by senior brother. Qi Qinfeng said angrily, Back then, my master suddenly died after expelling him from the sect. The Soul Catcher Mirror also disappeared without a trace. Now that I've seen this mirror, I suspect that my senior brother has something to do with my master's death. As soon as he said that, Xianfeng laughed and said, Junior brother, it seems like you're not too stupid. To tell you the truth, I've been secretly poisoning that old thing's food. This kind of poison can't be detected at all. After a long time, how could the old thing not be poisoned? You deceived your master and destroyed your ancestors. You will die a horrible death. Qi Qinfeng cursed without caring about his image. Mad Southern Yi, aren't you known as the #1 person in the ancient martial arts world, and you're a dual cultivator of martial arts and magic? Sage Xianfeng looked at Yi Chen again. He did not hide the disdain on his face at all. Since that's the case, let me ask you. Do you dare to answer me if I call you now? He knew the Soul Catcher Mirror very well. There was once a martial arts grandmaster who had the strength to fight a tiger, and his soul had been sucked into the Soul Catcher Mirror. Seeing that the function of the Soul Catcher Mirror had been revealed by Qi Qinfeng, he had no choice but to take a risk and try to lure Yi Chen into his trap. Why wouldn't I dare? Just call me. Yi Chen raised his brows and a mocking smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. He looked at the Soul Catcher Mirror in his hand with interest. As his voice fell, Qi Qinfeng said again, No, you must not. It's fine. I'd like to see how powerful this so-called Soul Catcher Mirror is. Yi Chen shook his head slightly. Seeing him so arrogant, Qi Qingfeng could only sigh. Very good, mad Southern Yi, you're courting death. Sage Xianfeng could not help but laugh. Then, he threw the bronze mirror into the sky. The mirror faced Yi Chen and shouted, Mad Southern Yi, I'll call you. Do you dare to answer? At the same time, everyone's hearts were in their throat. Grandpa is here. Yi Chen stood with his hands behind his back and smiled proudly. Ah! Sage Xianfeng immediately laughed out loud. It was as if he could already see the scene of Yi Chen's soul being sucked into the mirror by the soul-catcher mirror. Fang Tianhua and Qi Qingfeng closed their eyes in despair. Master Yi, you're really too careless this time. Even Tang Guodong became extremely nervous at this moment. If anything happened to Yi Chen, then the Tang family would not be able to escape this calamity. 1 second passed, 10 seconds passed, half a minute passed. Yi Chen stretched his neck and said lazily, I say, this so-called soul-catcher mirror of yours doesn't seem to be working? Don't tell me you bought it from some street stall? Seeing that he could still speak, the entire audience was in an uproar. Impossible, how are you fine? Sage Xianfeng could not help but take a few steps back. His expression changed drastically as he said again, Mad Southern Yi, I'll call you. Do you dare to answer? Grandpa is here. Mad Southern Yi, Grandpa is here. After repeating this several times, Sage Xianfeng spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was filled with deep shock. Impossible, why doesn't the soul-catcher mirror have any effect on you? This time, even Fang Tianhua and Qi Qingfeng were stunned. Especially Qi Qingfeng. He had some understanding of this mirror. His master, Master Gui Gu, had used it to get rid of countless overseas evil cultivators. He had never failed. I already said that this mirror of yours was bought from a street stall. Yi Chen stretched his back and immediately reached out a hand to grab the soul-catcher mirror in the air. The mirror was immediately grabbed in his hand. At the same time, he shouted, Sage Xianfeng. No. Sage Xianfeng did not dare to agree. He subconsciously wanted to run, but his entire body froze. An illusory figure floated out of his body and was directly sucked into the copper mirror. The scene completely froze at this moment. Master, are you all right? One of Sage Xuanfeng's female subordinates walked over and subconsciously touched his body with her hand. Bang! Sage Xuanfeng's body fell to the ground on the spot. Qi Qingfeng took 2 steps forward, bent down, and checked his breathing. His hands suddenly trembled. Dead? As soon as these words were said, the entire place fell silent. No one expected that Sage Xuanfeng's magic treasure, the soul-catcher mirror, would be useless against Yi Chen. On the contrary, Yi Chen forcefully snatched his soul-catcher mirror and took away his soul on the spot? Was this a trap of one's own making? Innate qi capture? Fang Tianhua sucked in a breath of cold air. His lips trembled as he said, What Master Yi used just now was the innate qi capture. P.S. Chapter 3. Today's update is over. Thank you for everyone's support. Please vote. Chapter 477. Outside the Tang family's villa. Countless people were dumbfounded. No one had expected that the aggressive Master Yinshe and Sage Xianfeng would end up like this. Master Yinshe had opened his heaven's eye to deal with Yi Chen, but his eyes had been crippled by Yi Chen. Sage Xianfeng had even taken out the long-lost soul-catcher mirror, but Yi Chen had snatched it away and even absorbed his soul. Countless people stared at Yi Chen in a daze. Only now did they realize that Mad Southern was even more powerful and terrifying than the rumors said. Among them, the most excited were the members of the Tang family, led by Tang Guodong. Only now did they realize how powerful they were. Those who had looked down on Yi Chen earlier felt guilty and relieved. Some people were excited, and naturally, there were others who were afraid. After Master Yinshe and Sage Xianfeng arrived in Hong Kong, countless wealthy families and clans had secretly sided with them. They had even acted as lackeys to threaten and lure the Tang family. Thinking of this, Countless representatives of the wealthy families at the scene knelt in front of Yi Chen. They looked terrified, afraid that they would be implicated. However, Yi Chen did not plan to make a move on them. Pursuing profits was the nature of businessmen, and it was also human nature. If he killed this group of people today, there would be another group of the same people. As long as he could intimidate them, it would be enough. Yi Chen glanced at Master Insher, who was still lying on the ground, covering his eyes and screaming. He said indifferently, "Insher, do you surrender?" "I surrender, I surrender." Insher's eyes were bleeding. He had stepped into China in high spirits to seek revenge on Shen Tianan. Even after learning that Shen Tianan had died at the hands of Mad Southern, he still relied on the Insher Dharma eye to look down on Yi Chen. The result was that his eyes had been crippled. How could this not make him regret it? Sensing the killing intent in Yi Chen's voice, he shuddered. Ignoring the pain in his eyes, he knelt in front of Yi Chen and said respectfully, "Master Yi, I, Insher, failed to recognize Mount Tai. Please spare my life. As long as you don't kill me, I'm willing to serve you." No one was not afraid of death. This was especially true for someone like him who had reached the pinnacle of the spell formation world. He was constantly thinking about becoming more powerful so that he could live longer. Sure. The coldness on Yi Chen's face eased a little. He retracted his killing intent and said, "Hand over your soul blood and I'll spare your life." Insher did not dare to hesitate. He immediately hammered his chest, and a drop of bright red blood landed in Yi Chen's hand. Everyone secretly inhaled sharply. The dignified Taibang No. 1 had now become Mad Southern Ye's dog. If this news were to spread to Taibang, it would definitely cause a huge uproar. "From now on, you'll be by my side." Yi Chen flicked his finger and a pill fell into his hand. Master Insher was shocked. Yi Chen's voice suddenly rang in his ears. "This is the rebirth pill. After taking it, it will heal your eyes." Master Insher did not doubt him and immediately swallowed it. He was not afraid that Yi Chen would poison it. If Yi Chen wanted to kill him, there was no need for him to do it so many times. After all, his life was in Yi Chen's hands. The next moment, he only felt a chill flowing through his eyes, accompanied by a slight numbness. Not long after, the pain completely disappeared, and he once again saw the colorful world. "Thank you, Master. From now on, Insher will follow you to the death." He knelt respectfully in front of Yi Chen without another word. Yi Chen's pill was simply too amazing. It was the first time in his life that he had seen such a miraculous pill. At the same time, Yi Chen's image in his heart grew taller and taller. If he had only acknowledged him as his master because of the situation before, then now, he had endless respect for him. Yi Chen raised his eyes and looked at the people around him. There was no expression on his face at all. "As for you guys, leave 10 billion yuan each before you leave." "What?" Someone almost died of anger. "I've never seen someone rob money so openly. He even robbed it so boldly. If you don't have it, then let your family send the money. I don't care if you sell your children or sell everything you have. I must receive the money within 2 hours. Otherwise." Yi Chen stood with his hands behind his back and said with an indifferent expression. Someone looked indignant. "Mad Southern Yi, why don't you just rob someone? That was 10 billion yuan, not 100 yuan. Impudent." Insher's face turned cold, and a fierce glint flashed in his eyes. That person's body exploded into a bloody mist on the spot. He did not even have the time to scream. The scene was dead silent again. 2 hours later, in the Tang family's villa, Yi Chen stood in front of the bed. In front of him lay an old man in a Chinese tunic suit with white hair. However, the old man's face was dark, and there was a faint black aura flowing on his face. Tang Guodong, his daughter, Qi Qinfeng, and Insher stood at the side. In the end, Tang Guodong could not help but ask, "Master, how is my father? Can he still be saved?" "He can be saved. The old man was poisoned by corpse poison. Yi Chen turned around and looked at him deeply. Tang Guodong, if I'm not wrong, your Tang family's ancestral grave is not ordinary, right? Master, only my father knows about this. Tang Guodong's face was filled with confusion. Even he, the second son of the Tang family, was not very clear about the Tang family's ancestral grave. Yi Chen did not ask any further. With a flick of his finger, a corpse transformation pill shot into the Tang family's old master's mouth. As a green light bloomed, the corpse energy on the old master's body was completely released. Don't breathe, this corpse aura is poisonous. Qi Qingfeng hurriedly reminded them. Tang Ning and Tang Guodong immediately held their breaths and looked at old Master Tang nervously. Not long after, when all the corpse aura in old Master Tang's body dissipated, he slowly opened his eyes. Dad! Grandpa! Tang Ning and Tang Guodong were ecstatic. An hour later, old Master Tang's thoughts finally returned to normal. He also learned the whole story from Tang Ning and her daughter. Tang Yuanshan thanks Master for saving me. Old Master Tang was about to kneel down as he spoke. Old Master Tang has been righteous and generous all his life. He has helped countless people. He has not let down the country and the people. There's no need to be so polite. Just call me Mister. Yi Chen waved his hand to stop him and went straight to the point. Old Master, may I go to your Tang family's ancestral grave to take a look? Of course. Old Master Tang nodded slightly, but then he was a little puzzled. Mr. Yi, may I ask if my Tang family's ancestral grave has? He really wanted to ask if there was a zombie. However, he could not bring himself to say it because not only the ancestors of the Tang family were buried there, but also the late feng shui master of Hong Kong, Xiao Bai. This was also the reason why Tang Guodong and the others refused to let outsiders enter. After all, Xiao Bai's status in Hong Kong was too special. He could be said to be a feng shui legend of a generation. If outsiders knew where his grave was, it would be a disaster for the Tang family. P.S. There are still 2 more chapters. I'll post it once I'm done. Chapter 478. The 8 Immortals Ridge. It was located in the northeast of Hong Kong's new territories. In the 1970s, when Tang Yuanshan smuggled himself into Hong Kong from the mainland's Guangdong province, he made his fortune by collecting mountain goods. The location was the 8 Immortals Ridge. After that, Tang Yuanshan rose rapidly as a small figure who collected mountain goods. He invested in real estate, jewelry, finance, and film companies. In just a few decades, he had laid a solid foundation for the Tang family. Therefore, Tang Yuanshan remembered the past and applied to the governor of Hong Kong at that time to buy a place in the 8 Immortals Ridge. Then, he secretly moved the ancestral grave there. At that moment, Yi Chen was sitting in one of Tang Yuanshan's caravans. Tang Yuanshan looked at the scenery along the way through the window and said with a bitter smile, Mr. Yi, to tell you the truth, the Tang family's ancestral grave was chosen by the current master Xiao Bai. I've heard this name more than once. Is this person really that amazing? Yi Chen asked with interest. It's not amazing. Tang Yuanshan shook his head with respect on his face. To be precise, Master Zhao's life can be summed up as a legend. He is a highly respected expert who does not seek fame or profit. He clearly possesses divine powers, but his heart is for the people of the world. That's right. Qi Qingfeng, who was at the side, said, Master Xiao has done a lot of good things for the people of Hong Kong. When Hong Kong was still a concession, countless people were homeless and suffering from illness. Master Xiao took out all his wealth to build greenhouses, open porridge shops, and even personally treated the people. At this point, he sighed softly. Unfortunately, even someone as strong as Master Xiao cannot escape the cycle of life and death. You don't know this, but on the day the news of Master Zhao's death spread, a total of 50,000 people in Hong Kong wore mourning clothes for him. To this day, Many people in Hong Kong still have statues of Master Shao in their homes. Tang Yuanshan sighed. When Yi Chen heard this, he was immediately moved. 50,000 people wore mourning clothes for him. From this, it could be seen that this person was indeed as the two of them said. He could not help but ask, "Where is this person buried?" "I don't know." Qi Qingfeng shook his head. Tang Yuanshan wanted to say something but hesitated. In the end, he said, "Mr. Yi, to be honest, Master Shao is buried in the Tang family's ancestral grave." As soon as this was said, everyone in the car except Yi Chen was shocked. Even Tang Guodong and Tang Ning were no exception. What? Qi Qingfeng was stunned at first, then he looked at Tang Yuanshan in disbelief. "Elder Tang, is Master Shao really buried in your Tang family's ancestral grave?" "Not bad. In fact, when Grandmaster Shao chose the ancestral grave for my Tang family, he wanted me to agree to two of his requests. I originally thought that Grandmaster Shao wanted money, but who would have thought that Grandmaster Shao would shake his head and say no?" Tang Yuanshan smiled apologetically. "Firstly, he wants my Tang family to donate 30% of our assets to charity. Secondly, he also wants to be buried in the 8 Immortal Ridge after his death." "Grandfather, are you saying that Master Shao already knew when he was going to die?" Tang Ning asked in confusion. "Yes." Tang Yuanshan nodded and said in a deep voice, "Someone like Master Shao has long understood life and death. It's understandable that he knows when he's going to die. So I agreed at that time and promised not to tell anyone." "Father, why is Great Master Shao buried in our Tang family's ancestral grave? After all, he is not a member of our Tang family." Tang Guodong frowned and asked suspiciously, "I didn't understand that at first." Tang Yuanshan shook his head lightly. Subsequently, he glanced at Yinsher who was behind Yi Chen. His meaning was self-evident. Yi Chen came to a realization. Shao Bai also knew that with his status, countless people would definitely care about him after his death. Therefore, he could only be buried in the Tang family's ancestral grave. With the Tang family's power, they could keep this secret. Just as they were talking, the driver in front said, "Master, we're here." After the group of people walked out of the limousine, they looked over and saw a winding mountain peak. Each corner of the mountain peak was separated, making it look like 8 mountain peaks. It was very majestic. "Mr. Yi, that's Immortal Nun Peak." Tang Yuanshan leaned on his walking stick and extended his hand to the east corner. He introduced them one by one. Next to it are Xiangzi Peak, Saiha Peak, and Chao Shu Peak. The 8 Immortal Peak was named after the 8 Immortals. After introducing the last peak, Tang Yuanshan paused and said, "That's Chunyang Peak, which represents Chunyangzi Lu Dongbin. It's also the place where our Tang family's ancestral grave is located." Everyone looked in the direction of his finger. They saw that the mountain peak at the side was currently surrounded by a faint black aura. The black aura was constantly spreading outwards, and the vegetation on the peak had all withered. It looked very dispirited. At the same time, a faint layer of light spread out from Yi Chen, Qi Qingfeng, Yinsher, and the others. These light curtains enveloped Tang Yuanshan and the others. "Master Shao once said that our Tang family is in charge of water and wood. We lack metal, wood, and earth among the 5 elements. Therefore, after traveling all over Hong Kong, we chose Chunyang Peak," Tang Yuanshan said as he led the group. Pure yang, pure yang. Of course, it's gold and fire." Qi Qingfeng nodded. As soon as they got close to Chunyang Peak, they were surrounded by black aura. However, they were isolated by the light curtains on their bodies. A grave that covered an area of less than 20 square meters appeared in front of everyone. However, the ground around the grave had cracked like a dry field. At the same time, it was accompanied by a wave of heat. Tang Yuanshan's expression changed slightly. "Strange, how did it become like this?" "What's that?" Tang Ning suddenly exclaimed and pointed at a black pillar of energy in the distance. Her pretty face was filled with shock. That's a sign that the corpse energy is extremely dense. Yi Chen chuckled. Then, he looked at Tang Yuanshan and said, Elder Tang, you might not know this, but not only are there 2 people buried in your Tang family's ancestral grave, there's also an outsider. There's an outsider? Tang Yuanshan was puzzled. That's impossible, right? You'll know at a glance. Yi Chen walked to the front of the grave and raised his hand. A yellow spirit talisman shot straight into the sky. He let out a long roar. Thunder. In the blink of an eye, the sky was covered with dark clouds. Boom. Under everyone's horrified expressions, a bolt of lightning struck the Tang family's grave. Countless dazzling electric currents were transmitted into the ground. Roar. A moment later, the ground shook violently. An angry roar came from underground, like the roar of a ferocious beast. What's going on? Tang Yuanshan and the others looked at each other in shock. The next moment, a huge black coffin broke out of the ground and smashed heavily onto the ground. Even so, it still did not shatter. Everyone looked over. They saw that the black coffin was covered in a dense black aura. The coffin had sunk more than 20 centimeters into the ground. The coffin was shaking incessantly, as if something was trying to escape. Seeing this scene, Qi Qingfeng and Yinsher both sucked in a breath of cold air. They cried out in shock, This is the triple evil heavenly coffin. P.S. There's still one more chapter. I'm writing it now. Chapter 479. Bang. Bang, the huge black coffin continued to shake, and the nails on the coffin lid began to loosen. It was as if a hand was constantly pushing against the coffin lid from the inside. Tang Yuanshan and his sons were already stunned. Even now, they still couldn't figure out why there was such a coffin in their ancestral grave, and it looked so strange. After hearing Qi Qingfeng's words, Yi Chen couldn't help but look at him. What's the 3 evil heavenly coffin? Qi Qingfeng didn't answer immediately. Instead, he turned to Tongning and asked, Miss Tang, do you have a map of Hong Kong? Yes. Tongning suddenly snapped out of her daze. Her fearful gaze shifted away from the black coffin. She opened her bag and took out a map before handing it to Qi Qingfeng. Qi Qingfeng spread the map on the ground and opened it. He looked up at the Tang family's ancestral grave in front of him and measured it with a strange angle with his finger. Then, he compared the distance on the map. A few seconds later, he was so shocked that he fell to the ground. 3 evil positions. It's really the 3 evil positions. It seems that my guess was right. I didn't expect someone to have set up a 3 evil formation here. What's the 3 evil formation? Yi Chen asked with a frown. Qi Qingfeng swallowed his saliva and said, Master Yi, you might not know this, but the so-called 3 evil formations are the Calamity Formation, the Time Formation, and the 3 evil positions are where the 3 evil formations meet. At this point, he couldn't help but look between the black coffin and the grave in front of him and murmur, and the 3 evil formation is a formation formed by 3 graves. The coffins in the other 2 graves are burial objects for the real coffin. This coffin is called the 3 evil heavenly coffin. It will wash away all the energy of the other 2 coffins, including resentment, corpse energy, dragon energy, and so on. Bang. Bang, the frequency at which the black coffin vibrated became more and more intense. Qi Qingfeng's eyes were filled with fear. The 3 evil formation is an evil method. It wants to use the power of feng shui and the 3 evil formations to raise corpses. In other words, there's. Tongning looked at the black coffin in front of her with a face full of fear. She had experienced zombies before. She had encountered one in the Tang family's tomb in Ba County. It was a nightmare that she would never forget for the rest of her life. She didn't expect to encounter it again today. That's right. It's a zombie. Yi Chen spoke slowly as his eyes paused on the black coffin before him. You might not know this, old Tang, but Shen Tiannan's son, Shen Xingye, died in my hands. Shen Tiannan set up a fake grave for him in an attempt to raise his son into a zombie. Come to think of it, the one in the coffin is Shen Xingye. What? Tang Yuanshan was shocked and enraged. So, you're saying that Shen Tianan is using my Tang family's ancestral grave to raise his corpse? In other words, the change in my Tang family's ancestral grave was also caused by it? As he spoke, he actually wanted to approach the black coffin. However, Tang Guodong hurriedly pulled him back. Dad, don't be rash. He couldn't be blamed for being so furious. This matter was truly too vicious and heartless. Anyone would probably feel terrible if they were in his shoes. Grandmaster Yi, from the looks of it, the thing in the black coffin has probably become a zombie. Qi Qingfeng's expression was extremely solemn. He looked at his feet and said, "This evil creature has absorbed the pure yang fire of the land of pure yang. It's going to turn into a drought demon. Shen Tianan actually has such a method." As soon as he said that, Inshir's expression changed. Drought demon. This was almost the highest rank of zombies. Rumor had it that once a drought demon appeared, the land would be barren for 1,000 miles. This meant that wherever there was a drought demon, there would be a drought within 1,000 miles, and the soil would crack. It's fine. Yi Chen shook his head slightly. If I had discovered it too late, in another 30 to 50 years, Shen Xingye might have been able to become a drought demon. However, it's impossible now. He had also learned about the drought demon before. In the cultivation world, there was a sect called the Corpse Insect. The people in the sect did not cultivate magic treasures or divine abilities. Instead, they mainly refined corpses. Almost every member of the sect would have a corpse, also known as a corpse puppet. When fighting against an enemy, summoning a corpse puppet would increase one's combat strength. The level of a corpse puppet was similar to that of a zombie. Among them, a drought demon was equivalent to a golden core cultivator. If Shen Xingye was really a drought demon, even he, Yi Chen, had to retreat. All of you, retreat 100 meters away. After saying that, Yi Chen stretched out his hand and slapped the black coffin in front of him. Bang! The lid of the coffin shattered. Roar! With a furious roar, a black figure flew out of the coffin. From afar, it looked like a charred person with smoke rising from his body. When the black figure landed on the ground, its face was revealed. It was wearing a black shroud, and its long hair covered its eyes. Its skin was bronze in color, and the corners of its mouth were bared with fangs. The clothes on its arms were torn apart, revealing 2 hairy arms. At first glance, one would think that they were made of fur, but in fact, they were made up of countless densely packed tiny steel needles. This is a bronze-armored corpse. Qi Qingfeng, who was standing in the distance, exclaimed. Although Tang Ning was terrified, she still asked, "Master Qi, what is a bronze-armored corpse?" Generally, after a zombie is born, it's the white zombie. It's afraid of chickens, dogs, light, and humans. After that, it's the black zombie. Compared to the former, it's not afraid of humans, Qi Qingfeng explained. Qi Qingfeng explained, and after the black zombie is the bronze-armored corpse. They are the product of being buried in a land of extreme gold and coming out after 10 years. After this kind of zombie absorbs the power of extreme gold, its body also sharpens. It's as if it's plated with a layer of copper powder, becoming invulnerable and extremely powerful. Shaolin, shoot. Tang Guodong suddenly turned his head and said to the driver beside him. The driver did not hesitate. He immediately took out a pistol and fired at the bronze-armored corpse in front of Yi Chen. In the end, when the bullets hit the bronze-armored corpse's body, other than a burst of sparks, they did not do any damage to it at all. Instead, they aroused its ferocity. Roar! It roared angrily and turned its head to where Tang Ning and the others were. With a leap of its feet, it leaped over as if there were springs installed under its feet. Not good. Qi Qingfeng's expression changed drastically. The Phantom Valley focused on feng shui and was not good at fighting. Moreover, even if they were fighting to catch demons, they would still need a special magic tool. If it was an ancient martial artist, they would not be afraid, but if it was a zombie, it would be different. After all, zombies had no senses. Even if you cut off one of its hands, it would only attack you fearlessly. Where do you think you're going? At this moment, Yi Chen leaped into the air and landed directly on top of the bronze-armored corpse's head. His speed was even faster than it, and then the shadow of his fist filled the air. Bang! With just one punch, he knocked it down to the mortal world, smashing a huge pit in the ground. Then, it leaped back to the ground and bared its teeth at Yi Chen. Obviously, it had realized the danger Yi Chen posed. As expected of a bronze-armored corpse. Seeing that it was fine, Yi Chen was slightly surprised. He asked with his hands behind his back, "Xin Xingye, do you still recognize me?" P.S. Chapter 3. Today's update has been completed. We will continue tomorrow. Thank you for your support. Please vote. Chapter 480. Xin Xingye, do you still remember me? Faced with Yi Chen's question, the bronze-armored corpse looked at Yi Chen with a blank expression. For some reason, it felt that the person in front of it was vaguely familiar. It was a mysterious feeling. That face was really asking for a beating. Roar! It roared angrily, and two sharp fangs appeared at the corner of its mouth. Wisps of black gas spewed out from its mouth, and then it fearlessly attacked Yi Chen. The fingernails in its hand expanded, wrapped in extreme black gas. Looks like you really don't remember me. Yi Chen shook his head slightly, a little disappointed. Zombies were an anomaly in the 3 realms and 6 paths. They were abandoned by everything and wandered around with no one to rely on. It could be said that no one was willing to become a zombie. If Xin Xingye was still alive, he probably wouldn't be willing either. Fine, let me free you. Yi Chen seemed to sigh softly with pity. His face returned to its previous indifference. He slapped a 5 thunder talisman into the sky and shouted, "Thunder!" Boom! A bolt of lightning with terrifying power descended from the sky and struck the bronze-armored corpse. The bronze-armored corpse's face immediately revealed a look of fear, and it subconsciously wanted to escape. This was the might of heaven. It specialized in restraining evil beings. Even zombies that had no intelligence were no exception. Boom! Under the lock of lightning, where could it run to? Therefore, almost in an instant, the bolt of lightning that was as thick as a baby's arm immediately bombarded its body. Roar! A roar mixed with endless pain rang out, shocking Qi Qingfeng, Tang Ning, and the others in the distance. When they looked again, the place where the bronze-armored corpse was located was engulfed in flames. After the flames dissipated, there was a pit on the ground that had been struck by lightning. Other than that, there was nothing else. At this moment, Tang Ning and the others stared blankly at the figure in front of them. The awe in their eyes was extremely strong. Is this the lightning technique of the Celestial Master Sect? Qi Qingfeng muttered to himself. No, even the people of Mount Longhu, the most orthodox holy land of the Celestial Master Sect, can't do this, right? He was a member of the spell world, so he naturally understood the ability of the Celestial Master Sect to summon lightning. It required setting up an altar, placing offerings, burning sacrificial rites, and even chanting scriptures to achieve this step. Moreover, the power was not so terrifying. Fortunately, Master didn't use this move on me earlier. Yinsher was shocked, but he also felt an uncontrollable sense of relief in his heart. If Yi Chen had used the thunder method against him earlier, he would have died under the thunder. After all, no matter how strong his body was, it could not be stronger than a bronze-armored corpse, right? Almost at the same moment the bronze-armored corpse died, the black gas that was swirling around the entire Pure Yang peak dissipated. Not long after, it returned to a clear and bright state. All right, you guys can come over now. Yi Chen turned around and said. Only then did Tang Ning and the rest walk over. Tang Yuanshan looked around and could not help but ask, Mr. Yi, is there anything wrong with our Tang family's ancestral grave? At his age, wealth and power were just fleeting clouds. Only his ancestors mattered. Otherwise, he wouldn't have the face to see his ancestors after he died. The zombies are all dead. It should be fine, right? Tang Ning was full of lingering fear. No. However, Yi Chen shook his head. Old Master Tang, the feng shui layout here has been destroyed. If you want to ensure that your Tang family remains standing, you have to move your ancestral grave. That's right. Qi Qingfeng also nodded and said, Old Master Tang, Master Yi is right. The only thing we can do now is to move the grave, and we have to do it as soon as possible. There has been a drought here for a few days, and I estimate that there will be a torrential downpour tonight. I suggest that we take out the bones first. Only then did Tang Yuanshan realize the seriousness of the matter. He immediately asked Tang Guodong to make a call. Not long after, more than a dozen members of the Tang family rushed over with tools. After pushing the tombstones and digging the graves for more than half an hour, they took out a severely decayed corpse from the Tang family's ancestral grave. It was probably the ancestor of the Tang family. However, when they opened the other coffin, they could not help but exclaim, Master, there's no one in the coffin. As soon as this was said, Tang Yuanshan immediately walked over. As he walked, he said, Impossible. This is Master Zhao's tomb. How can there be no one? Could it have been stolen? When everyone got closer to take a look, they saw a wooden figure lying in the purple coffin. The wooden figure was made of gold-threaded nanmu and there were many yellow talismans pasted on it. Even so, the wooden figure and the coffin showed no signs of decay. It looked as if they had just been placed in there. How could this be? Tang Yuanshan was in disbelief. This is clearly Master Zhao's tomb. Why is there a wooden figure lying inside? In reality, he was not the only one. Even the rest were shocked. Tang Ning could not help but ask, Grandpa, are you sure it's Master Zhao lying inside? 100% sure. Tang Yuanshan nodded. Xiao Bai had passed away 30 years ago. At that time, he followed Xiao Bai's last wish and did not hold a funeral. Instead, he buried him in the Tang family's ancestral grave in an extremely low-key manner. It could be said that he had seen Xiao Bai's body being placed into the coffin with his own eyes, and he had been watching the coffin being buried. Then, why did Master Xiao turn into a wooden figure? Tang Guodong was confused. Yi Chen walked to the coffin and looked at the wooden figure lying inside as well as the yellow talismans on it. From the corner of his eye, he accidentally noticed something that looked like a wooden tablet in the wooden figure's left hand. He could not help but pick it up and take a look. He realized that the wooden tablet was only the size of a palm. It was a little similar to a tortoise shell. However, the material it was made of was neither gold nor jade, nor was it made of wood, copper, or iron. Tang Yuanshan asked curiously, What is this? Yi Chen shook his head slightly. With a thoughtful look on his face, he asked, Old Master, I think this Master Xiao has been lying to you from the very beginning. In fact, he's not dead at all. What? He's not dead? Tang Yuanshan was shocked. That's impossible, right? Nothing's impossible. If I'm not wrong, this wooden figure's body is engraved with substitute incantations. Yi Chen chuckled and said confidently, I think this wooden figure is Xiao Bai's substitute. If you don't believe me, you can ask Qi Qingfeng and Yinshe. Qi Qingfeng and Yinshe could not help but take a step forward when they heard this. They carefully sized up the wooden figure in the coffin, as if they were thinking about something. A moment later, Qi Qingfeng took a deep breath and said, Old Master Tang, Master Ye's judgment is correct. This wooden figure's body is engraved with substitute incantations. I think it's really Master Zhao's substitute. Yinshe nodded as well. I saw Master Zhao's corpse with my own eyes that day. This. Even now, Tang Yuanshan still could not accept it. Yi Chen shook his head slightly and said, It's very simple. If Xiao Bai is really as magical as you say, and his spells are divine, then he can casually use a camouflage spell to confuse your eyes. At this point, he continued, sometimes what the eyes see may not be true. P.S. Chapter 1, there are 2 more chapters. Chapter 481. In other words, Master Xiao has deceived me as well? After Tang Yuanshan finally accepted it, he asked, but even so, how can Master Yi be sure that Master Xiao isn't dead? This is just a guess of mine. Yi Chen shook his head slightly and asked, does Elder Tang know how old Xiao Bai has lived? I don't know about this old man. Tang Yuanshan smiled bitterly. In fact, I don't know much about Master Xiao either. I only know that he has always been alone and unrestrained. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to describe him as a wandering cloud or a wild crane. At this point, he pondered for a moment and said, but if I were to guess, Master Xiao would be at least 90 years old 30 years ago. 90 years old? Yi Chen frowned. If Xiao Bai hadn't died, he would be 120 years old by now. For a cultivator, it was normal to live to this age, especially for a senior like Xiao Bai. Forget it. Whether this person is dead or alive, it means that we won't have the chance to meet him again. Yi Chen shook his head slightly and stopped dwelling on this matter. Instead, he took out the token that he had taken out from the coffin and carefully examined it. There was a distorted word written on it. It seemed to be the word "C." He actually couldn't recognize what this item was. Qi Qingfeng suddenly said, Master Yi, I wonder if I can take a look at this item? Of course. Yi Chen handed the token to him. Qi Qingfeng held it in his hand and carefully examined it. His expression kept changing, as if he had thought of something. After a while, he returned the token to Yi Chen and said in a deep voice, Master Yi, to be honest, my sect also has a token like this. It's exactly the same, but the words on it are different. As soon as he said this, Yi Chen's eyes lit up and he couldn't help but ask, really? Absolutely. Qi Qingfeng took a deep breath and said with certainty, that was left behind by my master, Gue Gu, before he died. It has always been enshrined in the ancestral hall. The word engraved on it is the word "in." See "in"? "Insi"? Yi Chen said calmly. I wonder if I can take a look at it? Since it's Master Ye's request, of course. Qi Qingfeng smiled and said, I'll get my disciple to bring it over later. Tang Yuanshan and the rest looked at the token in Yi Chen's hand in confusion. Master Yi, what's that? I don't know either. However, it's something that Xiao Bai left behind in the coffin, so there must be a deeper meaning behind it. Yi Chen gave a perfunctory reply. When he looked again, he saw Yinsher looking at the inside of the coffin. He frowned and said, What are you looking at? Master, I'm looking for Master Zhao's belongings. Yinsher did not dare to hide anything and immediately said, Rumor has it that there are 2 great treasures in the spell world of Hong Kong, the 9 Dragons Plate and the Soul Catcher Mirror. They are Master Xiao and Master Gue Gu's Dharma treasures respectively. Yi Chen shook his head lightly. He had checked the coffin earlier. There was no 9 Dragons Plate at all. After the Tang family cleaned up the bones, the group got into the car and returned to the Tang family. Qi Qingfeng helped the Tang family set up the ancestral hall and placed the bones there. Then, he took out his phone and contacted his disciple. Tang Yuanshan's previous indifference was gone. Ignoring his old body, he knelt in front of Yi Chen resolutely. Mr. Yi, thank you. First, you saved the Tang family from danger, then you cured me. Finally, you solved the problem of the Tang family's ancestral grave. For all these things, this old man deserves to kneel down, Tang Yuanshan said as he glanced at Tang Ning. Tang Ning immediately took out a thick document and handed it to Yi Chen. Mr. Yi, this is the transfer contract of the Tang family's property. As long as you sign it, it means that in the future, all the wealth of the Tang family will be in your hands. Yi Chen did not argue. He quickly scanned it and saw that there were no major problems, so he signed his name. Tang Ning then placed a bank card on the ground. Master, there are 20 billion yuan in this overseas bank card. The password is on the back of the card. Yi Chen accepted it without hesitation. After careful calculation, he had received more than 100 billion yuan from his trip to Hong Kong this time. If news of this got out, it would definitely cause a commotion. Just as he was about to speak, he suddenly raised his head and looked outside the Tang family's villa. 2 balls of golden flames flashed in his eyes. Who is it? Insher also sensed it. His face darkened, and he immediately turned into a black shadow and leaped out. Everyone was shocked by this sudden scene. Tang Yuanshan stood up from the low mountain and could not help but ask, "Mr. Yi, what's going on?" "It's nothing. There's just a guy hiding in the dark spying on me. Insher has already gone after him." Yi Chen shook his head slightly. His divine consciousness had been enveloping the entire villa, so he sensed that person the moment he appeared. However, the other party was quite vigilant. After realizing that his whereabouts had been exposed, he immediately retreated. A moment later, Insher returned. However, his expression was a little ugly. "Master, I'm useless." The other party escaped. There was still a lingering aura of battle on his body. Why? Yi Chen was surprised. Insher's cultivation base was not low. It was even higher than Shen Tiannan's. Apart from Yi Chen, there was actually someone else that he could not deal with. Even Qi Qinfeng, who was at the side, was shocked. Insher looked ashamed as he said, "The other party's cultivation level is actually not high, but it's very strange. He can turn into a shadow, and has no physical body. I didn't investigate and let him escape. Who the hell is this person? Not to mention spying on us, even Master Insher can't do anything to him." Tongning's face was filled with shock. As she spoke, she turned around to check the surveillance footage in an attempt to find out the identity of the man. However, she couldn't find anything. "There's no need to investigate." Yi Chen smirked coldly. "It seems like other than Insher and the dead sage Xianfeng, other forces have their eyes on us. Insher and sage Xianfeng had targeted the Tang family because they were after Xiao Bai's tomb. If they were already like this, who could guarantee that there were no outsiders who coveted Xiao Bai's ancestral tomb? There was no other explanation. Yi Chen's eyes flickered as he thought to this point. Xiao Bai, just who are you? You can actually make so many people go crazy for you." As soon as he finished speaking, everyone was shocked. At this moment, Qi Qingfeng's phone rang. He picked it up and his expression changed. He immediately looked at Yi Chen and said, "Oh no, Master Yi, my disciple was attacked on the way." Before this, he had contacted a female disciple of his in Hong Kong and asked her to send the token from the sect to Yi Chen. He did not expect to be attacked on the way. "Did your disciple say where she was attacked?" Yi Chen's expression gradually darkened. Someone was spying on them. The next moment, Qi Qingfeng's disciple was attacked. It was obvious that it was premeditated. Moreover, from the looks of it, it seemed that they were after the token. Chapter 482. Qi Qingfeng's disciple was attacked halfway. However, before the other party could finish speaking, the phone was hung up. The situation was very dangerous. At this critical moment, the Tang family had no choice but to use their power to find the other party's location based on the last contact address on the phone. Pearl River, on a private yacht that was heading from Macau to Hong Kong. At this moment, it was filled with extreme murderous intent. The two groups of people attacked each other on the yacht. Screams could be heard constantly, and blood stained the entire deck and the surrounding river water. "Who the hell are you people? Why are you attacking us?" A young man in a black suit held the copper box in front of his chest tightly. His eyes were wide open as he looked at the men in black who were constantly surrounding him and the others. His name was Yu Yang. He was Qi Qingfeng's eldest disciple. He had been raised by Qi Qingfeng since he was young and had been taught all his skills. Therefore, after receiving Qi Qingfeng's call, He took the token and headed to Hong Kong. Unexpectedly, when the yacht was halfway there, the group of people in front of him suddenly leaped out of the river. Their figures were like ghosts, and they attacked them without saying a word. However, the other party had the advantage in numbers. Seeing the people he had brought with him die tragically one after another, his heart ached so much that he couldn't breathe. "Senior brother, you go first. We'll bring up the rear. You must complete Master's mission." A man in black gritted his teeth and suddenly pushed Yu Yang into the river. Then, a grenade appeared in his hand and he rushed towards the group of men in black with a crazed expression. "Ha ha, let's die together." "No!" Yu Yang roared again and again. Boom! With a series of loud noises, the entire yacht was buried in a huge fire on the spot. The flames soared into the sky like a huge mushroom cloud. A scorching heat assaulted his face. In the water, Yu Yang resisted the pain in his heart and dived into the water. He kept swimming towards the east side of the Pearl River. Run! As long as he escaped to the port, he would have a way out. However, when he swam to an open area, he suddenly stopped because a black shadow was faintly seen in the distance. It was as if a person was rushing over on the river. Could it be Master? Yu Yang was delighted, but when he saw the other party's face, his heart sank. It was a young man dressed in black. His face was sickly and his temples were white. He held a piece of tissue in his hand and covered his mouth. Every few steps, he would cough like a bellow. However, Yu Yang didn't dare to underestimate him. This was because anyone who could walk on the river was either a martial Dao grandmaster or an illuminating deity expert. No matter which one it was, they were not people a Dao initiation late-stage spell master like him could deal with. In the blink of an eye, the black-clothed young man walked up to Yu Yang. The black-clothed young man coughed a few times before lowering his head to look at Yu Yang in the water. "Give it to me and I'll let you go. Senior, I'm Yu Yang, the disciple of Master Qi Qingfeng from Macau and Hong Kong." Yu Yang subconsciously tightened his grip on the copper box, trying to intimidate the other party by saying his master's name. "Qi Qingfeng." The young man's face was abnormally red. "I've never heard of it. How can a mere ant of the secular world call himself a master?" Seeing how arrogant the other party was, Yu Yang's heart sank completely. The young man coughed non-stop and reached out to Yu Yang with one hand. "Since you're not willing to cooperate, I'll have to take it by force." His hand was like dry tree bark, black and wrinkled. It didn't look like the hand of a young man at all, but the hand of a centenarian. It was very, very cold. Yu Yang subconsciously wanted to resist. However, he was shocked to find that he couldn't move. It was as if a pair of invisible hands had bound him. The next moment, the copper box in his hand fell into the young man's hand. The copper box shattered, revealing a black token. On it was a twisted character, "C." Yu Yang closed his eyes in despair. A group of more than 10 people had escorted the copper box here. They had sacrificed more than 10 lives, and he was the only one left. He didn't expect that it would all be in vain. "Master, what exactly was this copper box? How could it attract so many mysterious people and mysterious powerhouses? Your surname is Yu, and it sounds like you are. I won't kill you." Yu Yang was already prepared to die. However, after a while, he realized that there was no movement beside him. When he opened his eyes, he found that the young man from before had long disappeared. There was not a single person on the surface of the river. At this moment, a sword light cut through the wind and swept over from afar. In the next moment, the sword light landed beside him, and 3 figures descended from it. It was Yi Chen, Qi Qingfeng, and Insher. Yang Qi Qingfeng hurriedly pulled Yu Yang out of the water. As he checked his body worriedly, he sized up his surroundings. "Master, I've let you down." Yu Yang fainted on the spot after saying this. On the vast surface of the river, the young man in black coughed as he walked. Under the wanton sea breeze, his figure looked extremely lonely. However, one of his hands was tightly holding on to the token. A voice that seemed to be muttering to itself sounded, another 50 years have passed. I've finally gotten the key. Wait for me, I'll come find you soon. And at this moment, 3 ghost-like figures suddenly appeared on the surface of the river, surrounding the young man tightly. The leader was an old man with an incomparably sinister expression. Shi Qianhan, you've gone too far. That's right. We've worked hard for decades for that netherworld token. We're about to get it, but you actually dared to intercept us. Another old woman's expression was extremely gloomy. Shi Qianhan, hand over the netherworld token and we'll spare your life. The killing intent of the 3 of them soared to the sky. The young man in black coughed violently. His eyes were empty, as if he did not see the threat of the 3 of them. He did not stop and continued walking into the distance. Fine, but you actually dare to ignore us. The 3 of them flew into a rage and joined forces to attack him. However, they realized that the young man had actually passed through their bodies. In the blink of an eye, he had appeared 1,000 meters away. I just want to see my Yuer. If you stop me again, I'll kill you. The 3 of them were shocked. In the Tang family's villa in Hong Kong, Yi Chen looked at the awakened Yu Yang and frowned. In other words, the copper box in your hand was snatched away by that young man in black? And he actually didn't kill you? Yes. Yu Yang nodded and said with a pale face, we encountered a total of 2 groups of people. The first group killed everyone they saw without saying a word. Only that young man said a few words to me. Who exactly are they? Didn't you guys ask clearly? Qi Qingfeng's expression was extremely ugly. This was because more than a dozen people had died on their side this time, and one of them was his disciple. What angered him the most was, after Yu Yang and the others revealed their identities, the other party still dared to make a move. It was obvious that they did not take him seriously. I asked, but they didn't answer. Yu Yang shook his head with a bitter smile. However, I can be sure that the young man in black is not on the same side as the first group because their style of doing things is different. At this point, he seemed to have thought of something. He looked at Qi Qingfeng and revealed a look of hesitation. Just say what's on your mind. There's no need to beat around the bush. Qi Qingfeng's face was full of impatience. Yu Yang hesitated for a moment before saying, Master, when I met the young man in black, I mentioned your name. However, the other party said that he had never heard of you, and he even said that a mere ant in the secular world is not worthy of calling himself a master. Qi Qingfeng was furious at first, but then his expression suddenly changed. He seemed to have thought of something. Could it be that the other party is? Note, Chapter 1. There are still 2 more chapters. I'm writing. Chapter 483. Almost at that moment, Yi Chen and Qi Qingfeng blurted out in unison, Shang Santian? Master, what is the upper 3 heavens? Yu Yang did not understand. Tang Ning, Tang Yuanshan, and the others were even more confused. Qi Qingfeng didn't reply to him. Instead, he muttered, yes, he must be from there. Otherwise, he wouldn't keep talking about the secular world. Only they would treat us like ants. However, he was even more curious about what that token was. It actually made someone from Shang Santian take action personally. He could not help but look at Yi Chen as he thought to this point. Yi Chen shook his head lightly, indicating that he had no idea. The only thing he was curious about was that the token in his hand came from Xiao Bai's tomb, and the token in Qi Qingfeng's sect belonged to Master Gui Gu. Did this mean that Xiao Bai and Master Gui Gu were related to Shang Santian? Forget it. Yi Chen no longer bothered about this. Instead, he looked at Qi Qingfeng and said, Fellow Qi, your disciple's death was also because of me. I, Yi Chen, can be considered a person who clearly distinguishes between gratitude and grudges. How about this? The Soul Catcher mirror was originally a treasure of your sect. Now I'll return it to you. At this point, he raised his hand and waved. The soul catcher mirror fell into Qi Qingfeng's hand. This so-called magic treasure that the spellcaster world was scrambling for was nothing in his eyes. Thank you, Grandmaster Yi. The next morning, Yi Chen boarded the plane back to Tianan after dealing with the Tang family's matters. Insher naturally followed him as a substitute. After all, he had already acknowledged him as his master. The only thing that surprised Yi Chen was Qi Qingfeng also chose to follow him. The reason was that Yi Chen cultivated both magic and martial arts, so his thighs were thicker. He was willing to carry out the etiquette of a disciple and serve Yi Chen tea. Yi Chen did not know whether to laugh or cry, but he did not refuse. After all, although Qi Qingfeng could not compare to Insher, his strength was still there. He received a call from his mother, Wu Lan, as soon as he sat down. Yi Chen thought that his mother missed him because he had been away for too long. Unexpectedly, Wu Lan cried over the phone, "Xiaochen, Qianqian, she's gone." Gone? What do you mean? Yi Chen was confused. Wu Lan's voice was extremely hoarse. He disappeared. We searched everywhere, but we couldn't find him. Mom, calm down. Tell me what's going on slowly. Yi Chen's heart sank as he said after taking a deep breath in. After a while, he learned from his mother that after he left Tianan, only Qianqian and her parents were left at home. Qianqian obediently sat at the door and looked outside pitifully, saying that she would wait for Mengmeng to come back from school. Yi Chen's parents could not do anything to her. They could only let her sit at the door while the two elders went to clean up the house. However, half an hour later, Qianqian was nowhere to be seen. At first, the two elders thought that Qianqian had gone out to play. After looking around, they didn't see her. Now, the two elders finally realized the seriousness of the matter and asked many people to look for Qianqian. Even Su Yuhan, who was at work, was alerted. She did not see Qianqian even when it was nighttime. The Gu family activated their power to check the entire process of the surveillance, but they could not find Qianqian at all. It was as if he had vanished from the face of the earth. At this point, Wu Lan was already sobbing. Xiaochen, do you think Qianqian is? She suspected that Qianqian had either been kidnapped and hidden, or something had happened to her. Only dead people could not be found. Mom, keep looking. I'll be back soon. Yi Chen comforted her for a while before hanging up the phone. Qi Qingfeng noticed that he looked unwell and could not help but ask, "Master Yi, what happened? One of my children has gone missing." Yi Chen shook his head slightly, his expression a little ugly. "When we get to Tianan, please help me look for her." "Okay." Qi Qingfeng and Insher immediately nodded. After something like this happened, the ones who were the most upset were probably his mother, Wu Lan, and Su Yuhan. Both of them were mothers and could not bear to see their children suffer. Especially a child like Qianqian who had a pitiful background. The only thing that puzzled him was, how could Qianqian suddenly disappear? If she really had the body of 10,000 evils that the Patriarch of Hell had mentioned, unless she left on her own accord, no one could kidnap her and harm her. More than an hour later, at the Yi residence, when Yi Chen arrived at the door of the house with Qi Qingfeng and Su Yuhan, he saw his daughter, Mengmeng, sitting at the door with her legs crossed, holding her chin with her hand in a daze. If it was any other time, when the little girl saw her father, she would definitely be so excited that she would pounce on him like a little monkey. However, she did not do so now. She looked listless. Yi Chen walked over and picked her up. He asked with a smile, "My good daughter, are you waiting for me here?" "No." The little girl shook her head. There were still traces of tears in the corners of her eyes. She said timidly, "Daddy, I'm waiting here for Sister Qianqian to come back. She must be lost." "You're crying?" Yi Chen noticed that there was something wrong with her tone. He could not help but ask, "Did Mommy hit you?" No. The little girl's eyes suddenly turned red. The next moment, she hugged Yi Chen's neck and burst into tears. "Daddy, quickly take me away. I hate Mommy. Mommy hit me today." Just as she was speaking, Su Yuhan and her parents walked out from inside. When she saw Su Yuhan, the little girl's arms around Yi Chen's neck tightened. Yi Chen could even feel her fear of Su Yuhan. Yi Chen did not ask about Qianqian first. Instead, he looked at Su Yuhan and asked, "Did you hit Meng Meng today?" This girl didn't go to school early in the morning. She just sat at the door and said that she wanted to wait for Qianqian to come back. It was windy outside. I persuaded her to go in and wait, but she didn't listen. Su Yuhan said unhappily, "This damn girl has never been so stubborn." I was a little angry at that time, so I hit her twice. "No, you're lying." The little girl was instantly unhappy. She looked at her angrily. "You clearly hit me 5 times, and you even hit my butt." Pfft. Qi Qingfeng and Inshi, who were behind Yi Chen, laughed on the spot. Yi Chen was also amused. He pinched the little girl's cheek and said, not knowing whether to laugh or cry, "All right, don't be angry. Daddy will apologize to you on behalf of Mommy, okay? Don't worry, Daddy will definitely find your sister Qianqian." Only then did the little girl's mood change. When they entered the house, Yi Chen was surprised to find that old Master Gu was also there. As if sensing his doubts, Su Yuhan explained, "After the incident, we contacted old Master Gu. Old Master Gu hasn't slept a wink because of Qianqian's matter." "Thank you, old Master Gu." Yi Chen nodded and asked, "Is there any progress?" "No." Old Master Gu sighed softly and said, "I asked the municipal bureau to pull up the surveillance cameras within a 20-kilometer radius of the villa, including the roads and even the surveillance cameras of the various residential areas. There was nothing." At this point, he seemed to have thought of something. "But something happened yesterday. I don't know if it has anything to do with Qianqian's disappearance." Without waiting for Yi Chen to ask, he said, "Just yesterday, 3 wealthy families in the northwest were slaughtered. The culprit claimed to be Fu Wanlong, causing the Heavenly Palace and the Dragon Soul to take action, but they couldn't catch him. It's said that this person is hiding in Tiannan." Chapter 484. Hearing old Master Gu's words, Yi Chen's expression gradually darkened. "Fu Wanlong. That's right, that's him." Old Master Gu nodded and said, "However, I didn't manage to find out his identity. It was as if he appeared out of thin air and, at this point, he paused for a moment before continuing, and this person is extremely powerful. Even the Dragon Soul and the Heavenly Palace couldn't catch him. Now that he's hiding in Tiannan, 2 wealthy families have been destroyed in one night." "Which 2 wealthy families were destroyed?" A fierce glint flashed in Yi Chen's eyes. He was now the ruler of Tiannan, and all the wealthy families in Tiannan had long submitted to him. As the saying went, one had to look at the master before beating a dog. Fu Wanlong's actions clearly showed that he did not care about him. One is the Qiannan's Wu family, and the other is Xiangnan's Feng family. Old Master Gu said in a deep voice, "After these 2 families were destroyed, all the wealthy families in Tiannan were trembling in fear, afraid that they would become the next target to be destroyed." "I understand." Yi Chen nodded, then turned to Qi Qingfeng and Inshi behind him and said, "The first task now is to find Qianqian. Please help me look for her." He seemed to have sensed everyone's doubts. Then, Yi Chen introduced the duo's identity. Qi Qingfeng smiled and said, "Master Yi, this old man knows a little about deduction. Do you have what you call Qianqian's personal belongings? It's best if it's a strand of hair." Without waiting for Yi Chen to speak, Su Yuhan was the first to speak. "Qianqian has only been at my house for a little over a day. I haven't had time to buy a lot of things for her. As for hair, I don't think I have it. Do you have any of her belongings that she changed into?" "Yes." Su Yuhan suddenly remembered. She immediately walked into the bathroom and took out a dirty tattered shirt that was full of patches. "Qianqian changed into this yesterday, but I haven't had time to wash it with her. Master Qi, do you think it's okay?" "It's perfect." Qi Qingfeng smiled faintly and took the shirt. He didn't mind the stench, and asked Su Yuhan for a pair of scissors. He cut a palm-sized piece from the tattered shirt. Then, he took out an alms bowl from his canvas pocket. There were 2 copper coins in the bowl. "This is the 5 emperors' money?" Old Man Gu was slightly surprised. The so-called 5 emperors' coins referred to the Xuanji Tongbao, Kangxi Tongbao, Yongzheng Tongbao, Qianlong Tongbao, and Jiaqing Tongbao, which originated from the Qing dynasty. They were passed down from generation to generation and passed through the hands of tens of thousands of people. They imperceptibly gathered the psyche power and human qi of countless people in the world, and were usually used to make magic tools. Exactly. Qi Qingfeng nodded slightly and threw the piece of cloth that he had cut off into the alms bowl. Then, he stepped on the ground and gathered his qi into his dantian. He formed a seal with both hands and shouted into the alms bowl. Jiazhen, Ili Bing Xian Kuan, Ding Qian, Wu Kan, Ji Sun Men, Gung Ri, the lost item can be found on Dui, and Rengui can be found on General. Find the owner of this item, as his voice fell. The cloves in the alms bowl burst into flames. It was burning in the air. Old Master Gu, Su Yuhan, and the rest could not close their mouth. Ignoring the flames in the alms bowl, Qi Qingfeng quickly reached in and scooped out the 2 5 emperors' coins. Then, he swept them across the corners of his eyes. In the next moment, 2 balls of green energy suddenly burst out from his eyes. "Open my heavenly eye. Look at the sky as the lamp, look at the earth as the guide, look at the stars as the guide, and the clouds as the path. Pave the way for me. It's as urgent as the law, order." Everyone held their breaths, not daring to make the slightest sound. They were afraid that they would disrupt his spell. However, Qi Qingfeng let out a blood-curdling scream. He covered his eyes and took a few steps back. If one looked closely, they would see a lot of green smoke coming out from between his fingers. Insher hurriedly supported him. This sudden scene caught everyone off guard. "What's going on?" Yi Chen could not help but ask. "Fire." Qi Qingfeng slowly released his fingers. His eyes were red as if they had been burned by fire, and tears flowed out of his eyes. "I saw fire. Endless fire. What a huge fire. They almost burned my eyes blind." At this point, he could not help but look at Yi Chen with a pained expression. "Master Yi, there's something wrong with the girl you're looking for. Her life chart is too strange. I didn't even get to see it clearly before I suffered a backlash. You rest first." Yi Chen flicked his finger and a pill fell into his hand. That afternoon, Yi Chen went straight to the Dragon Soul's headquarters. From afar, he saw Niu Qingshan, the Dragon Soul, plowing the fields as usual. When the plow reached his side, Niu Qingshan stopped and asked, "Why are you here?" "I want the Dragon Soul to use all its power to help me find someone." Yi Chen went straight to the point and told him about Qianshan's matter. Qi Qingfeng was right. There was something wrong with Qianshan's life chart. Not only had he suffered a backlash, but even he, Yi Chen, and the Patriarch of Hell had suffered because of her before. "All right, I'll order someone to make the arrangements immediately. I'll get back to you in 3 days." Niu Qingshan agreed without hesitation. After saying this, he threw the plow ashore and sat down under an old crooked tree. He took out his pipe and started smoking. As he smoked, he said, "By the way, I have something to tell you." Without waiting for Yi Chen to ask, he blew out a smoke ring and said slowly, "The people from Shang Santian have appeared." "Because of me?" Yi Chen was not surprised at all. "No." Niu Qingshan shook his head slightly and said, "It's not because of you. To be precise, it's not because of anyone. It's because of the ghost ship." "Ghost ship?" Yi Chen was stunned at first. Then, he felt that the 2 words were somewhat familiar. He could not help but recall that Yuan Qitai from the Banshan lineage had also told him about the ghost ship. It's said that the ghost ship appears once every 20 years, and it appears on the Wu River. Niu Qingshan did not notice his abnormality. Instead, he continued, "This is a very strange and evil ship. No one knows where it sets sail from, and no one knows where it will disappear. Why are the people from Shang Santian coming for the ghost ship? Could it be that there's something on the ghost ship that attracts them? Yi Chen frowned slightly. You've guessed something. Niu Qingshan looked at him in admiration. Then, he said, rumor has it that there's a red spider lily on the ghost ship. To cultivators, the red spider lily is no different from a miracle pill, especially to spell masters. It's said that if a spell master consumes the red spider lily, they can step into the legendary origin energy. In other words, to be precise, these people are here for the red spider lily. Yi Chen came to a realization. Something like that. Niu Qingshan shook his head and said, Of course, this is just a rumor. There are other rumors. For example, the ghost ship is a bridge between the yin and yang realms. The living can also go to the netherworld through the ghost ship, and the dead can also return to the world of the living through the ghost ship. Chapter 485. There are also people who say that when a person's time is up, if they hide on the ghost ship, they will be immortal. Niu Qingshan spoke frankly. Yi Chen looked at him with a forced smile. Do you believe that? The red spider lily was a legendary item. It grew at the border between life and death. It was born from the aura of death. It was rare even in the cultivation world, not to mention Earth. Of course I don't believe it. Niu Qingshan chuckled. To put it bluntly, these things are too ethereal. Even though we're considered powerhouses in this world, we're still humans after all. Since we're humans, we have to follow the rules of life, age, sickness, and death. At this point, he changed the topic, however. Just because I don't believe it doesn't mean that others don't believe it. There are always people in this world who are blinded by greed or people who are afraid of death. Have you been to the ghost ship? Yi Chen asked. No. Niu Qingshan shook his head slightly and said with a smile, The last time the ghost ship appeared was 20 years ago. I was on a mission at the time, so I missed it. However, even if I didn't miss it, I wouldn't have gone. Because too many people have died. The previous palace master of the heavenly palace, the previous dragon king of the dragon soul, the previous chief of the martial alliance, and all sorts of old monsters stepped onto the ghost ship. However, none of them came out alive. Never. His face was a little pale. Clearly, he had been reminded of some terrifying past. 20 years ago, with the previous Dragon King around, our Dragon Soul was able to suppress the Heavenly Palace. However, once the Dragon King left, coupled with the rise of my junior brother, Guan Shangyue, the Dragon Soul began to decline. I had no choice but to temporarily retire. Yi Chen's heart skipped a beat when he heard that. If he remembered correctly, when Yuan Chitai from Banshan came to look for him last time, he had also said that the previous chief of Banshan had never returned after stepping onto the ghost ship. Thinking to this point, he could not help but ask, Are these people who didn't return dead or alive? Only God knows. Niu Qingshan sighed softly. In short, none of those who stepped onto the ghost ship came out. Perhaps they're dead, or perhaps they're forever left on that extremely evil ghost ship. As a result, more and more people are waiting for the ghost ship this time, because most of them are the descendants of the group from 20 years ago. They want to investigate the reason for the disappearance of their loved ones. Yi Chen secretly nodded. Subsequently, he seemed to have thought of something as a token appeared in his hand. Do you know what this is? How did you get this thing? Niu Qingshan's expression changed drastically in disbelief. Yi Chen squinted. Do you know him? This is the Netherworld token, the key to guiding the ghost ship. Niu Qingshan gave him a deep look and said in a deep voice, The Netherworld token asks, Sister, are you okay? The little girl still didn't understand. The woman once again patiently asked in German, Klein? Schwester bist du okay? She had used 8 languages, but the little girl in front of her was still confused. When she switched to Chinese, the little girl's dull eyes finally lit up. Sister, I'm fine. Don't come near me. I'll dirty you. Wow, you're Chinese. The woman finally heaved a sigh of relief. She seemed very excited. China. When Yi Chen returned to Lin City from the Dragon Soul's headquarters, he happened to recall that his daughter, Meng Meng, was in a bad mood after being beaten up by her mother this morning. He wanted to walk into a toy store to buy some gifts for the little girl. Only when he was crossing the street, a white-haired old man walked over and blocked his way. "Young man, can I ask you about someone?" "Who is it?" Yi Chen frowned. Because the light had turned green, the cars around them were honking crazily. "His name is Yi Chen. He's the boyfriend of Star Group's CEO. The old man smiled amiably. Yi Chen's frown deepened. "Why are you looking for him?" "Because he killed my boss's son. My boss treated me well and even saved my life. Tell me, shouldn't I avenge my boss?" The old man smiled faintly. "That's because he killed my boss's son. Old thing, I've long noticed that something was wrong with you. Let's do it." Yi Chen could not help but scoff. As his voice fell, the space around them distorted a few times, as if it had become illusory. The cars around them drove towards the two of them, directly passing through their bodies. P.S. After catching a cold for a few days, my body has recovered a little. The day after tomorrow, which is Saturday, I'll publish 6 chapters. I'll publish as many as I write. Thank you for your support. Chapter 486. On the bustling street, the rain was pitter-patter. 2 figures stood in the middle of the road. Countless cars passed by them, but the passers-by did not seem to see them. Spatial Dao. Yi Chen stood with his hands behind his back, a hint of surprise on his face. Space. This was a very broad term. The space that ordinary people came into contact with was usually 3-dimensional. It referred to length, width, and height. If time was added, it would be a 4-dimensional space. However, the old man in front of him had comprehended a trace of spatial force and could make small changes in the spatial dimension. The result of this was that in his view, he was still in the middle of the road, but the passing cars could not see him. The two of them were in different spatial dimensions. The other party's strength had clearly touched the level of a martial venerable. "You're quite knowledgeable." When the old man heard this, his turbid eyes burst with light. "Young man, you were able to kill young Master Han's personal shadow. Your strength is indeed not bad. Even I wouldn't have been able to do this at your age. It's a pity that you shouldn't have killed young Master Han. Without young Master Han, Master's position in the Park family would be ruined, and Master has taken care of me for so many years. Before you die, you have the right to know my name. Remember, my name is Fu Wanlong. 50 years ago, I fought with Guan Shanyue in the Great Snow Mountain and escaped unscathed." Fu Wanlong smiled proudly. "You talk too much nonsense." Yi Chen shook his head slightly and gently pinched his fingers, feeling the moisture between them. He looked up at the sky. "You destroyed my Tianan aristocratic family. Let this autumn rain wash away your sins." Fu Wanlong smiled coldly. Just as he was about to say something, he could not help but frown. Then, he looked up. Countless raindrops the size of beans fell down in a pitter-patter. Rain. How could there be rain? He had already used spatial Dao to pull this person into his dimension. Where did the rain come from? The rain was getting heavier. He suddenly reached out and grabbed a handful. Immediately, he felt a piercing pain. His eyes widened as he looked at the bean-sized bloody hole in his hand. Dripping water could pierce a stone. You are. His expression suddenly changed and turned extremely pale. His eyes were filled with fear as he looked at Yi Chen. He seemed to have remembered something. However, in the next moment, he couldn't help but let out a blood-curdling scream. Endless raindrops fell on his head, smashing through his skull on the spot. It was as if these were not raindrops, but countless bullets, turning him into a sieve. There was not a single trace of blood during the entire process. Plop! He fell heavily to the ground, his life quickly draining from his body, accompanied by bone-piercing pain. Yi Chen took a step out and walked directly to the toy store across without even looking at him. Wait! Fu Wanlong forcefully took a deep breath, his face flushed red. Can you let this old man know who killed me? My name is Yi Chen. They like to call me Mad Southern Yi. An indifferent voice was heard. Yes. Tian Nan. Mad Southern Yi. Fu Wanlong smiled sadly, and a hint of color appeared in his gloomy eyes. I should have guessed this a long time ago. From the moment I stepped into Tiannan, today's ending was destined. Good, very good. I have no regrets dying in the hands of Mad Southern Yi. With that, he breathed his last. 50 years ago, Fu Wanlong, who dared to compete with martial arts legend Guan Shangyue, had officially fallen into desolation. Even when faced with the encirclement of Dragon Soul and Heavenly Palace, he could escape. However, he died in Yi Chen's hands. From the beginning to the end, he did not even touch the corner of Yi Chen's clothes. The moment he died, Yi Chen had already stepped into the toy store across, and the surrounding space changed again. A Honda was about to cross the zebra crossing when there were still a few seconds left before the green light. Suddenly, it braked because an old man suddenly appeared in front of the car, lying on the zebra crossing. Did I kill someone? I didn't drink and drive. I didn't see anyone just now. Why did someone suddenly appear? Could it be a scam? The Honda driver hurriedly stopped the car and walked out to take a look. Just one glance almost scared him to death. Not long after, a police car arrived. After cordoning off the scene for an autopsy, they found that the old man's head seemed to have been shot through by countless bullets. Strangely, there were no bullets in the old man's head. After a few men in uniform came over, the old man's body was taken away. Even the surveillance footage was taken away. On the second day after returning home, Yi Chen was surprised to find that he had not seen the Patriarch of Hell recently. After asking his parents also said that the Patriarch had been out often recently and did not return home. His actions were very abnormal, and it was before Qianqian disappeared. This made him a little unhappy. If the Patriarch was at home, Qianqian would not have disappeared. He could not help but call Lin Tai over and asked with a frown, "Where's the Patriarch?" The Patriarch? Lin Tai looked like he wanted to say something but hesitated. It seemed like it was difficult for him to speak. In the end, he said, "My lord, you'll know when you come with me." Yi Chen could only suppress his impatience and get into his car. Half an hour later, in a KTV in the western district of Lin City, 3 young men with dyed hair stood trembling in the private room. There was a young man around 15 or 16 years old lying on the sofa beside them. The young man seemed to have fallen asleep, but there was a hint of viciousness between his brows from time to time. "Greetings, my lord." As Yi Chen approached the private room, the 3 young men shuddered in fear. They immediately knelt on the ground with a thud, looking terrified. "What's going on?" Yi Chen did not ask them. Instead, he looked at Lin Tai behind him. Lin Tai smiled bitterly and said, "My lord, you might not know this, but these 3 guys are my subordinates. The kid next to them is called Zhao Xiaotian. He bribed these 3 kids to kill someone." "Kill who?" Yi Chen looked at the young man lying on the sofa. "I have a video here. You should take a look." Lin Tai did not answer directly. Instead, with a strange expression, he ordered someone to bring a computer over. After plugging in a USB drive, he played an image. The people in the image happened to be the young man called Zhao Xiaotian and 3 other young men. Zhao Xiaotian was holding a bag of money in his hand. After entering the private room nervously, he said respectfully to one of the young men, "Greetings, Brother Ba. You're the Zhao Xiaotian that Wang Lei told me about before, right?" Brother Ba smiled at him with a cigarette in his mouth, as he held a princess in each of his arms. "Yes." Zhao Xiaotian nodded excitedly. Then, he placed the money in his hand on the table. After hesitating for a moment, he said, "Brother Ba, Wang Lei told you about that before, right? This money is your reward. Tell me, who do you want me to kill?" Brother Ba stared greedily at the bag of money on the table. There was at least 200,000 yuan. P.S. Chapter 1, Still Writing. Chapter 487. 200,000. Even in this era, it was not a small amount at all, especially for ordinary people. After all, 200,000 was very likely to be the down payment for a house. Not to mention a fugitive like Mina. Therefore, when he saw the bag of money, Mina was tempted. Apart from being tempted, he also wondered where Zhao Xiaotian, a high school student, had gotten so much money. Therefore, he did not agree immediately. Instead, he first asked Zhao Xiaotian who he wanted to kill. He was not a fool. Naturally, he knew that although he, Qianba, was very impressive in front of these children, he was nothing in the eyes of the big shots. Zhao Xiaotian was also smart. He knew that eighth brother was suspicious of him and immediately said, "Eighth brother, don't worry. The person I want you to kill is an outsider. Other than having some money, he has no background." Mina waved his hand and gestured for the two princesses to leave. When only his own people were left in the room, he took 2 steps forward, looked at Zhao Xiaotian, and asked, "What's the name of the person you want me to kill? Where are you from?" He said his name is Huang Quan and he came from the mortal cloud world. Zhao Xiaotian answered truthfully. But Mina gave him a slap. "Yellow Springs? Are you King kidding me? Why don't you say his name is Bai Luo? Also, what kind of place is the mortal cloud world? How dare I make fun of you?" Zhao Xiaotian hurriedly buried his head after being slapped, but his eyes were filled with resentment. "His name is really Yellow Springs, and he even showed me his ID. As for where the mortal cloud world is, I asked him, and he said it's a very remote place." A remote place. Hearing that, Brother Ba immediately felt relieved. He could not help but look at the 2 little brothers beside him. "Have you heard of a place called the Mortal Cloud Realm? Brother Ba, you, a top student who graduated from junior high school, haven't even heard of it, let alone a primary school student like me." One of the blondes shook his head hurriedly. The other person thought for a while, then shook his head. "Eighth brother, I've never heard of it either, but it's nothing strange. After all, there are many strange places in this world, such as Horse County, Ant Town, Spark Village, and also places called 6 Chickens and Eunuch Denver." Yi Chun had a strange expression on his face when he saw this. Yellow Springs. He already knew who these people were talking about. As for the mortal cloud world, it was obviously the world of cultivators where Patriarch Yellow Spring had been. It was normal for these people not to have heard of it. Mina could not help but ask, "I have 2 questions. First, where did you get so much money? Second, why did you kill him?" "He gave me this money." Zhao Xiaotian didn't dare to hide anything. "Then," he said, "the reason why I want to kill him is because he got together with my mother. This B***starred couple played me like a fool." At this moment, Goldie walked up to Mina and whispered something into its ear. Mina's expression changed a few times before he looked at Zhao Xiaotian and asked, "As far as I know, your current mother is actually a stepmother. She was the partner of your dead father after he divorced your biological mother. They didn't even get a marriage certificate. After your father died in a car accident, she didn't abandon you. In order to support you, she went to the nightclub and was bullied. You actually want to kill her? That bitch owes us." Zhao Xiaotian's expression was a little ferocious. "My father died to save her, so she owes our family a life. She did what she should have done. It's all interest." Speaking up to this point, the young man's gaze was extremely cold. "Until the moment my father died, she wouldn't let my father touch her. Once my father died, she slept with a wild man. Don't you think this B***tch deserves to die? And that man, every time he comes to my house, he gives me money. He gives me a lot of money, tens of thousands. Does he really think I'll be grateful to him? On the contrary, I can't wait to kill him and take his inheritance. I want this B***starred couple to die a horrible death. The young man's gaze was cold. The three of them, including Mina, shuddered in fear. As it turned out, this kid was an ingrate. Selfish, greedy, ruthless. In the end, Mina took a deep look at the money on the table. In the end, he could not resist the temptation of 200,000 yuan and said, "All right, I promise you. That guy won't see the sun tomorrow. Get lost. I don't want to see you." "Thank you, Mina." Zhao Xiaotian did not ask any more questions. He thanked the heavens and left. After walking out of the KTV, he turned around and glanced at the KTV. He sneered. "You all treat me like a fool. I'll give you this 200,000 yuan for now. Sooner or later, not only will I take it back, but I'll also take your life. The world is heartless and treats all living things like straw dogs. I, Zhao Xiaotian, swear to become a man above all. As long as I can achieve this goal, even if I have to sacrifice everything, it's worth it." The video officially ended here. The private room was dead silent. Only the three young men led by Mina were kneeling on the ground, trembling. Yi Chen walked over and glanced at the young man on the sofa. Then, he frowned. Rebellious in the back of his head. He's destined to be disloyal, unfilial, and heartless. No wonder he had the idea of killing his mother. Yes, my lord. This kid is a natural rebel. He's already like this at such a young age. If he grows up, I'm afraid. Lin Tai nodded, then made a gesture of slitting his neck. Such a person could not be tolerated by either the white or the underworld. No. However, Yi Chen shook his head. Don't kill him for now. Keep an eye on him. At the same time, pretend that this never happened. He could already tell that the young man in front of him had a spiritual root. Moreover, it was an earthwood spiritual root. His aptitude was not bad. Then, he connected it to what the Patriarch of Hell had said about the human cauldron. Then, the human cauldron he mentioned was self-evident. This guy is really lucky to be able to find such a target. No wonder he patted his chest and guaranteed that the chosen human cauldron would not harm the heavens and the earth. Yi Chen came to a realization. A person who dared to kill his mother. What was the point of letting him stay in this world? Thinking to this point, he asked Mina and the other two to leave. Then, he looked at Lin Tai and asked, "Where is the Patriarch of Hell now?" "In an urban village in the West District." Lin Tai did not know whether to laugh or cry. The Patriarch of Hell changed his name and even got an ID card. He pretended to be the boss of a developer and moved into that urban village. He was intimate with that woman with the surname Mu. Just the day before yesterday, Mina sent someone to kill the Patriarch of Hell. In the end, the Patriarch of Hell killed them instead. The Patriarch of Hell found me after that and almost beat me to death. At this point, his face was filled with grievance. He did not know about this from the beginning to the end. However, it was also Zhao Xiaotian's fate. Facing a great god like the Patriarch of Hell, even Tiannan's underground legend, Lin Tai, had to curry favor with him. In the end, Zhao Xiaotian bribed Lin Tai's subordinates to kill the Patriarch of Hell. This operation was really a little confusing. Chapter 488. After finding out what the Patriarch of Hell had done in the past few days, Yi Chen's unhappiness lessened a lot. It had always been his long-cherished wish to possess and be reborn. It would be a lie to say that he did not care about it. As for Qianqian's disappearance, he could not be blamed. After all, the Patriarch had suffered a lot at Qianqian's hands. He could not even hide from her, so why would he protect her? "Is this the cauldron you found?" At that moment, Yi Chen was sitting in the KTV private room. He glanced at Zhao Xiaotian, who was still unconscious, and looked at the Patriarch of Hell before him with a faint smile. He could feel that the Patriarch's aura had become stronger again, and he had reached the bottleneck of foundation building. A hint of seriousness appeared on the Patriarch's face. He was no longer as wretched and frivolous as before. "You know about this? Don't worry, this is your own business. I won't ask." Yi Chen smiled lightly. The only thing I don't understand is, since you chose this cauldron, why did you hook up with his stepmother? Fellow Yi, you might not know this. The Patriarch of Hell sighed softly and told him the whole story. It turned out that the Patriarch had been wandering around various clubs and nightclubs, but he accidentally saw Zhao Xiaotian, who was also in the nightclub. At that time, Zhao Xiaotian had offended a VIP at the nightclub and fled to the Patriarch's private room in a hurry. After the Patriarch saved him, he was pleasantly surprised to find that Zhao Xiaotian actually had a spiritual root. Moreover, it was a dual spiritual root of the earth and wood attribute. Even in the cultivation world, such a talent would be a good seedling that all the sects would fight for. At that time, the Patriarch only had the idea of possessing Zhao Xiaotian. He did not really do anything to Zhao Xiaotian. Instead, he took the initiative to ask about Zhao Xiaotian's family. It was only then that he found out that Zhao Xiaotian had a stepmother. It was his stepmother who earned money to support him in the nightclub. The Patriarch also discovered many problems with Zhao Xiaotian, such as greed, violence, and selfishness. Therefore, the Patriarch became more and more determined to use Zhao Xiaotian as a spare cauldron. He wanted to help Zhao Xiaotian's family financially, so he got to know Zhao Xiaotian's stepmother, Mu Tong. After a while, he saw a lot of good things about Mu Tong. She was clearly just a stepmother, and she was in her prime. She also had a good face, but she treated Zhao Xiaotian, who was not related by blood, like her own son. She made a living in the nightclub, but she was untainted by the mud. Of course, these were not the main reasons. The main reason was that the ancestor had received the friendship of a female alchemist cultivator in the early years of the cultivation world. Later on, the sect that the female cultivator belonged to was destroyed and she herself died. Although the old ancestor avenged her, there was always a shadow in his heart. Mu Tong looked very similar to that female cultivator, so his heart was moved. Apart from being stunned, Yi Chen sighed a little after hearing that. Patriarch Yellow Spring glanced at Zhao Xiaotian, who was lying on the sofa, and a sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth. Have you seen the rebellious side of this kid's head? Yi Chen nodded lightly. This kid isn't human. To be precise, he's a demon king. He's a typical selfish person. The Patriarch sneered. Of course, there's nothing wrong with being selfish. After all, if you don't look out for yourself, heaven and earth will destroy you. However, this kid even wanted to kill the mother who raised him. I'm afraid you don't know that he even killed his own father. I found out that his father started a small business 2 years ago. He has some money in his hands, but he rarely returns home. The relationship between the father and son isn't very good. Just because his father slapped him, he tampered with the brakes of his father's car. Yi Chen was secretly shocked when he heard that. This kid has wanted to kill me more than once. He really thinks that I don't know anything about his little trick. I'm just pretending not to know. If he was just a little stubborn, I might not have been able to harden my heart to possess him. However, now I'm more and more certain of my thoughts. At this point, the Patriarch took a deep look at Yi Chen. Fellow Yi, you won't stop me, will you? I've already said that this is your own business. I won't interfere. Yi Chen shook his head lightly and said, however, if you possess him in the future, how are you going to face his stepmother? What else can I do? I'll just tell the truth. He's not my biological son. The Patriarch chuckled and said, besides, this kid's actions have already disappointed Xiaodong. The reason why she's still raising him is because his dead father helped her in the past. However, I won't possess him for the time being. At the very least, I'll wait until I break through to foundation building. During this period of time, I'll continue to pretend that I don't know anything and let him enjoy his last moment. Yi Chen nodded. Just when he was about to say something, his phone suddenly rang. It was Niu Qingshan calling. Yi, I've found the whereabouts of the person you asked me to find. Come over immediately. Dragon Soul Headquarters. Niu Qingshan gave Li Ying a look. Li Ying immediately turned on the computer. There were many photos on it, and in the photos there was a little girl wearing a red shirt and walking barefoot. Mr. Yi, is that her? Li Ying lifted her head and asked. Yi Chen said in surprise, yes, it's her. We got this set of photos from a street photographer in Korea. We spent 200,000 won on it, and the address on the photo is Korea's Gyeonggu district. Li Ying quickly explained. Why did she go to Korea? Yi Chen frowned. Qian had disappeared in Tianan, China. Why would she appear in Korea for no reason? Could it be a kidnapping? However, if it was a kidnapping, why would she appear on the streets of Korea alone? We're not sure about that. Niu Qingshan continued. We also found out that this girl appeared in Haikou 2 days ago. At that time, a man wearing a cap was carrying her. As the other party buried his head very low, we couldn't find his identity. Where exactly is Qian in Korea now? Yi Chen asked. Li Ying shook her head and said, we can't find out. After all, Korea is too big. Moreover, this little girl disappeared after leaving Gyeonggu district in Korea. However, I think she should still be in Korea. Thank you, I got it. Yi Chen left after thanking him. At the same time, in the Park family of Korea, the atmosphere was extremely oppressive. As the vice president of the Samsung Group, Han Dongxing knelt in front of the Park family temple. His forehead was pressed tightly against the ground, and he did not move at all. If one took a closer look, they would notice that his entire body was trembling slightly. Tell me, how did Ziming die? In front of him was an armchair. On the armchair sat an old man with a gloomy expression holding a walking stick. The old man's hair was sparse, and there were many age spots on his face. However, his brows were filled with fierceness. It was as if he could suck away one's soul, making one not dare to look him in the eye. There were 4 major surnames in Korea. They were Lee, Kim, Han, and Park. It could be said that most of Korea's financial resources were in the hands of these 4 surnames. He was the head of the Park family, Park Kyung-dong. When he was young, he had served in the Korean Navy. After retiring, he entered politics and once climbed to the position of second-in-command of the city until he retired. It could be said that he was a sole figure that countless people looked up to. At the same time, he was Han Dongxing's father-in-law. Chapter 489. Beside the old man, there was a middle-aged woman in light makeup standing at the side. There were tears on the woman's face, and from time to time, she would look at Han Dongxing with eyes filled with endless hatred. She was Park Haishin, Han Ziming's mother. At the same time, she was also one of the directors of Samsung. It could be said that she had a huge amount of wealth in her hand. Father-in-law, Ziming died in Lin City, Tianan, China. Faced with Park Hyundong's interrogation, Han Dongxing's heart suddenly trembled. He hurriedly said, I found out that before Ziming died, he appeared at a bidding fair in Lin City. He also had a dispute with a local company called the Star Group in Lin City. You mean to say that Ziming was killed by someone from that company? Park Haishin, who was at the side, walked over and slapped him. She cursed hysterically. I arranged for 3 shadows to be by Ziming's side. How could he die so easily? No matter how much she hit and scolded him, Han Dongxing did not dare to retaliate. After his face was scratched, he ignored the pain and explained, Father-in-law, that's not an ordinary company because Uncle Long, who I sent to Tianan, is also dead. Park Haishin still wanted to grab him. Park Hyundong waved his hand to stop her. His expression froze as he looked down at Han Dongxing. Fu Wanlong is also dead? He knew Fu Wanlong's abilities. This was also one of the reasons why he had tolerated Han Dongxing, his son-in-law who came from an ordinary background and had no background, for so many years. Yes. In the morning, I saw Uncle Long's corpse in the Chinese news report. Han Dongxing did not dare to hide anything. Park Hyundong said in a deep voice, It seems that this company called the Star Group is indeed not simple. It's very likely that there's a powerhouse from China behind it. As soon as he said that, Han Dongxing seemed to have thought of something. I know who it is. It must be Mad Southern Yi. This person is known as the #1 person in Tiannan, and Ziming died in Tiannan. Father-in-law, I can guarantee it with my life. It's actually him. Park Hyundong could not help but be shocked. He had heard of the name Mad Southern Yi even when he was far away in Korea. Why would such a person kill Ziming? So what? Park Haishin said with a face full of resentment, Dad, I don't care who's behind this company. I won't let anyone who's related to Ziming's death off. If you don't care, I'll take responsibility myself. Not bad. Park Hyundong sneered. We won't let go of anyone related to Ziming's death, let alone a mere Chinese powerhouse. At this point, he could not help but look at Park Haishin. Haishin, get Samsung to pressure China to hand over the murderer. Dad, what if it doesn't work? Park Haishin hesitated. This kind of behavior was nothing more than a lose-lose situation. No. Park Hyundong shook his head slightly and said confidently, this matter concerns thousands of people. They won't dare to bear such a price. Besides, even if it doesn't work, I'll personally go to the parliament. Okay. I'll go now. With his promise, Park Haishin was extremely excited. It was as if she had an extra imperial sword. Park Hyundong glanced at Han Dongxing, who was kneeling on the ground, and lightly said, If Ziming's death can't be cleared, you should know what to do. Han Dongxing immediately collapsed into a ball. Tiannan, China. The moment Yi Chen arrived home, old Master Gu hurried to the door and said anxiously, Mr. Yi, something big has happened. What is it? Old Master Gu did not say much. Instead, he handed his phone to Yi Chen. You'll know when you take a look for yourself. Yi Chen zoomed in on the screen and realized that it was a piece of news. Moreover, Samsung's official website had posted a letter of condemnation. The general content was that the son of their group's director had died in Tiannan, China, and his corpse was nowhere to be found. Moreover, it was related to Mad Southern Yi. They wanted China to hand over the murderer, Mad Southern Yi. Otherwise, they would block Samsung's sales in China, including after-sales services and other services. Now, this matter has completely blown up. Both sides are cursing each other endlessly on the forums. There's a war of words between the two sides. It's completely out of control, old Master Gu said, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. As soon as this matter broke out, the whole world was shocked. After all, no matter how powerful Samsung was, it was only a company. It was very dependent on customers and the market. However, their current actions were no different from cutting off their own arms and harboring an attitude of mutual destruction. Yi Chen did not say anything. Instead, he casually clicked open a forum and realized that the page was filled with posts related to Samsung. If it's true, then this Mad Southern Yi is too awesome, isn't he? He even dares to mess with the son of Samsung's director? It shouldn't be fake. Samsung is a large group after all. This is the first time they've been so angry. They wouldn't make something up out of nothing. Holy sh*t, awesome. Our Mad Southern Yi is invincible in the country. He's going to beat up the Koreans. Brother, who is Mad Southern Yi? Can we talk in private? I don't care if it's true or not. Samsung is too arrogant. How dare they threaten us? Did they forget that I'm their breadwinner? Yes, in order to support the brother above, I bought a new Samsung Galaxy 10 that's worth more than 5,000 yuan. We've already destroyed the Galaxy's 10. Use Huawei. There were countless posts like this, and this was only the domestic forums. Yi Chen clicked into the Korean forum again and realized that it was full of curses. The arrogant Koreans were spouting nonsense online. Mad Southern Yi? I've never heard of him. If he dares to come to Korea, I'll teach him a lesson in minutes. I'm the coach of the Wuda Taekwondo Dojo in Korea, Lee Zaifeng. If you're not convinced, come and fight me. His post immediately attracted many Chinese netizens to attack him. F***ck your mother. How dare you challenge Mad Southern Yi with just Taekwondo? Who gave you the confidence? Is it the Vivo 36 million soft light that illuminates your beauty? Hee hee, you keyboard warriors only know how to talk on the internet. Be careful, that Mad Southern Yi will really come to Korea with his sword. I'll let you know why flowers are so red. Silly boy, haha. Appraisal complete. Hello everyone, I'm looking for my son. His name is Lee Zaifeng. He likes men, and his gender is neither male nor female. He likes to gain popularity when he's free. After reading it with great difficulty, Yi Chen returned the phone to old Master Gu and asked, "What did the higher-ups say?" "We're investigating this matter." Just as he was speaking, Yi Chen's phone rang. Niu Qingshan was the first to speak. "You don't have to panic about this. We've already obtained the video of the car explosion on the viaduct. At the same time, we've also found out that Fu Wanlong is Samsung's vice president, Han Dongxing's man. Han Dongxing's men came to China and destroyed many wealthy families. Now they actually dare to make a false accusation. Do they really think that I can't move my old bones? In short, leave this matter to me." Just as he was about to hang up, Yi Chen suddenly said, "No need, I'll handle it myself. Aren't they clamoring on the internet? I'm going to Korea anyway. I'll see if they're stubborn or stubborn." P.S. Chapter 2 and more. Chapter 490. It was the third day after Yi Chen returned from Hong Kong. Tiananmen Airport. Yi Chen boarded the plane to Korea alone with his boarding pass. Seeing that their daughter's birthday was getting closer and closer, the family hoped that Yi Chen could stay at home for a while longer. However, after Qianqian's disappearance, everyone was in a bad mood. Therefore, when they found out that Qianqian had appeared in Korea, Su Yuhan and the rest were pleasantly surprised. This time, there was no need for him to say anything. The whole family urged him to bring Qianqian back. Yi Chen did not know whether to laugh or cry. What he did not know was that the moment he boarded the plane, his whereabouts were seen by others. Heavenly Palace headquarters. Guan Shangyue, who was dressed in black, looked down at a young man in front of him and frowned. "Are you saying that you saw Mad Southern Yi board the plane to Korea with your own eyes?" "Yes, I can guarantee it. I even went to the terminal to check. It was a flight to Korea," the young man said respectfully. "That's strange." Guan Shangyue frowned. After the incident with the Samsung Group, everyone in Korea is hostile to Mad Southern Yi. Why would he go there at this time? A moment later, he could not help but sneer. "Mad Southern Yi, I don't care what your motive is, but you've given me a chance." At this point, he looked at the young man in front of him again. "Send his flight and whereabouts to Korea. I think the Samsung Group and the Park family will be happy to accept my gift." Lin Tai had bought the plane ticket in advance. Moreover, it was first class. At this moment, people were boarding the plane one after another. The seats in the cabin were arranged in 3 rows on the left and 3 on the right. It was almost full. After Yi Chen found his seat, he realized that there was a young and beautiful woman standing on her tiptoes, trying her best to stuff the suitcase onto the luggage rack. The suitcase seemed to be a little heavy, and the woman seemed to be struggling. "Ah!" She suddenly staggered, and the suitcase above her head quickly fell. Seeing this scene, the others were shocked. At this moment, a figure rushed over and grabbed the falling suitcase. Then, he took the initiative to place it on the luggage rack. The entire process was as smooth as flowing water. Yi Chen turned around and smiled. "Are you all right?" "I'm fine." Only then did the woman react. She said gratefully, "Sir, thank you. Thank you very much." Her face was full of lingering fear, because if the suitcase really fell, it would definitely hit her feet. "You're too polite." Yi Chen smiled lightly. Just when he was about to sit down, a voice came from behind. "Yi Nuo, what's wrong?" The next moment, a tall, young man in a suit pushed Yi Chen aside and walked to the lady. He took a good look at her from head to toe in concern. He heaved a sigh of relief after seeing that the lady was fine. Subsequently, he noticed Yi Chen and said with an unfriendly expression, "Did this brat do something to you?" The young man was handsome and tall. He looked to be about 24 or 25 years old, but there was an overbearing air between his brows. Yi Chen secretly frowned. "Chen Feng, no, you have misunderstood," the woman hurriedly explained. "When you went to the bathroom just now, I wanted to put the box on it, but it fell down. This gentleman was kind enough to catch it for me and put it back." "I see." Chen Feng nodded calmly. There was no apology or gratitude on his face. He turned to the woman and said, "Leave this to me, lest some people with ulterior motives take the opportunity to get close to you." "Chen Feng, what are you talking about?" The woman was a little angry. Yi Chen interrupted their argument and said impatiently, "Can you guys move aside so that I can go in?" His indifferent attitude made Chen Feng unhappy. Just as he was about to speak, the woman pulled the corner of his shirt and stood in the aisle. I'm sorry. Yi Chen did not say anything. He sat by the window and fastened his seatbelt. He closed his eyes and rested. In his mind, he was thinking about how to find Qianqian after arriving in Korea. Not long after, someone walked over and reminded everyone to fasten their seatbelt. Then the plane took off. The woman sitting beside him had been paying attention to him. She felt that it was strange that Yi Chen had not said a word since he sat down. He did not look like he had fallen asleep. Seeing this scene, a hint of jealousy flashed in Chen Feng's eyes. The woman asked without realizing it, "Sir, let me introduce myself. My name is Lin Inua and I'm from Jiangxia. Are you going to Korea for a vacation?" Yi Chen opened his eyes and said indifferently, "Yi Chen, from Tianan." After that, there was nothing else. "Inua asked you what you're going to do in Korea. What did you answer? You're completely out of line." Chen Feng snorted coldly. Yi Chen said expressionlessly, "Is there a need for me to tell you?" "You." Chen Feng was speechless. Lin Inua said unhappily, "Chen Feng." Chen Feng looked at Yi Chen coldly. He seemed to have thought of something and deliberately said loudly, "Inua, do you think we can join the Wuda Taekwondo dojo when we go to Korea this time? We should be able to. We've brought enough tuition fees, and we know Korean." Lin Inua bit her lip, but she did not look confident enough. After all, the Wuda Taekwondo dojo was very famous in Korea. It was also the most powerful dojo. How could it be so easy to enter? Moreover, this dojo seemed to discriminate against Chinese people. The conversation between the two of them attracted the attention of others. A young woman with heavy makeup said in surprise, "Young man, are you going to Korea to learn Taekwondo?" "Of course." Chen Feng smiled proudly. "Not only are we going to learn Taekwondo, but we're also going to join the best Wuda Taekwondo dojo in Korea. After we get in, I'll definitely study hard. When the time comes, whoever provokes me, I'll kick them until they piss their pants." He glanced at Yi Chen secretly as he spoke to this point. The meaning behind his words could not be more obvious. Yi Chen chuckled lightly and shook his head without saying anything. Little did he know that Chen Feng had noticed his action. Chen Feng's face darkened as he asked unhappily, "What are you laughing at? Are you looking down on Taekwondo?" He asked this on purpose because most of the people in the cabin were from Korea. If Yi Chen said anything wrong, it would incur the wrath of the masses. "I'm laughing because you're clearly a Chinese. Instead of learning the martial arts that have been passed down in China for thousands of years, you insist on learning Korean martial arts. That's ridiculous." Yi Chen shook his head slightly. Chen Feng flew into a rage. "What do you know? In this world, only Taekwondo is the most powerful. If you're not convinced, we can have a spar." At the end of his sentence, he deliberately flexed his muscles. "You're not worthy." Yi Chen smiled disdainfully and ignored him. He had completely lost interest in him. Yu Chen-fong was so angry that his face turned ashen. He wanted to flare up, but he was stopped by Lin Yinhua, who was beside him. However, he secretly planned to teach Yi Chen a lesson if he had the chance. Yi Chen ignored him. Chen-fong had nowhere to vent his anger, so he could only talk about taekwondo and all sorts of things. This gave Yi Chen a rough guess of their identities. Most of these people were university students who were still studying. At the same time, they were also veteran taekwondo fans. They planned to take advantage of the holidays to go to Korea and join a place called Wuda Taekwondo Dojo to learn taekwondo. After listening for a while, he felt that it was really boring. He then leaned against the cushion and closed his eyes to meditate. At the same time, in the Park family of Korea, Park Haishin hurriedly walked into the family temple and said excitedly, "Dad, good news, great news. I just received news that Mad Southern Yi is on the plane to Korea." Chapter 491. Is there no one capable in Korea? Fourth update. As Park Haishin's voice fell, Han Dongxing and Park Hyundong, who were in the family temple, raised their heads in unison. Han Dongxing was ecstatic. He had originally despaired about his fate. After all, it was impossible for them to kill their way into China to seek revenge on Mad Southern Yi. Who would have thought that Mad Southern Yi would come uninvited? How could this not make him excited? Park Hyundong frowned and said, "How did you know?" "Dad, someone from China told me. As for who it was, I don't know, but the other party told me Mad Southern Yi's flight information," Park Haishin replied. Park Hyundong remained silent. The Samsung Group had just pressured China, and China had turned around and sold out Mad Southern Yi? It was too fast. No matter how one looked at it, this matter was a little strange. At this moment, an old man sitting in the corner slowly said, "Hee, it seems that Mad Southern Yi also has many enemies in China." The old man was wearing a plain robe and sitting on a wheelchair. There was an 8 trigrams pattern printed on his chest, and his body was filled with the aura of death. If one looked closely, they would discover that he had nothing below his waist, as if he had been cut off by a sharp weapon. "Uncle Jindo, why are you here too?" Park Haishin was shocked at first, but then she knelt on the ground. Although the old man in front of her looked like an old man without the lower half of his body, no one in the Park family dared to be disrespectful to him. Even Park Hyundong was no exception. Because his name was Jindo. He was an expert from Korea who had become famous 50 years ago. He had killed several experts in a row with half of his body paralyzed. His padao had reached the acme of perfection, and he was known as the Sword Saint. Rumor had it that he could quickly slash out 50 times in a second. From this, it could be seen that his strength was terrifying. And the rise of the Park family was also due to him. "I don't like being lonely when I'm old, so I came to visit my old friend." Jindo smiled amiably, without any aura on his body. Park Hyundong said in a deep voice, "Uncle, what you said just now is that someone in China wants to use us to kill someone?" "That's right." Jindo nodded slightly and said, "There's a saying in China. Where there are people, there is a pugilistic world. Since there is a pugilistic world, there is a struggle." "Uncle, then what about us?" Park Haishin asked hesitantly. "How can I not accept this gift that has been delivered to my doorstep?" Jindo's smile gradually turned cold. "If Mad Southern Yi had stayed in China, we might not have been able to do anything to him. However, he has taken the initiative to come to Korea. Isn't it up to us to decide whether he lives or dies? Huaixin, bring some people to the airport to kill Mad Southern Yi immediately. Remember, bring the 3 commanders of the Dark Shadow over as well." Park Hyundong also laughed. "Also, bring along the laser gun that Samsung has secretly researched. No matter how powerful Mad Southern Yi is in China, he will still die." After more than 2 hours, the plane successfully landed in Korea. When the exit was no longer crowded, Yi Chen got off the plane and looked around. "Mr. Yi, please wait." A voice was heard. Lin Yinhua caught up to him and took the initiative to hand over a note. She was drenched in sweat as she said, "Mr. Yi, this is my contact information. We are all Chinese. If you have any difficulties in Korea, you can look for me." Chen Feng, who was behind her, was carrying large and small bags. His face was filled with displeasure. Back then, when he was chasing after Lin Yinhua, he pestered her for her contact information. Lin Yinhua refused to give it to him no matter what. In the end, Lin Yinhua actually took the initiative to give her contact information to Yi Chen. How long had they known each other? With this comparison, he found Yi Chen even more unpleasant to the eye. He could not help but snort coldly and say, "Yinhua, let's go. Don't waste time with irrelevant people." Yi Chen took the note from her and put it in his pocket. Without saying a word, he turned around and walked toward the airport exit. "What kind of person is this? Why are you showing such a stinky face?" Chen Feng said sourly. "Don't talk so much." Lin Yinhua looked at him coldly and took the lead to walk in front. She felt a little disappointed. He did not have any other thoughts about Yi Chen. He was just grateful. In the end, Chen Feng was so narrow-minded that he targeted him everywhere. On the other hand, Mr. Yi was neither arrogant nor rash from beginning to end. The difference between the two of them was obvious. Chen Feng's expression was extremely unsightly. He looked in the direction that Yi Chen had left in and thought to himself, "Brat, don't let me see you again. Otherwise, you'll suffer." Naturally, Yi Chen did not know what Chen Feng was thinking. At that moment, he had already walked out of Seoul Airport. He walked straight to the roadside and hailed a taxi. He said in standard Korean, to Guro-gu, "It might be difficult for ordinary people to learn a foreign language in a short period of time, but for cultivators, with their powerful divine will, they could master it in the time it took to brew a cup of tea as long as they watched a few Korean movies." The driver thought that he was from Korea, so he nodded and drove him in the direction of Guro-gu. Yi Chen sat in the back and took out a photo from his phone. It was a photo that he had taken for Meng Meng and Qianqian. Fortunately, he had taken this photo back then. Otherwise, it would have been even more difficult. As for why they were going to Guro-gu, it was because the people of Dragon Soul had found out that the last place Qianqian appeared was on the streets of Guro-gu. The car drove for less than 5 kilometers. Chapter 492. In addition to researching electronic products, Samsung had also conducted some secret experiments over the years, especially in the field of technology. For example, the laser gun, also known as the Halley's Comet gun. Lasers were hailed as the greatest invention of the 20th century. They were known as the fastest knife, most accurate ruler, and brightest light. When used on guns, their speed was comparable to the speed of light, and they were not affected by wind speed and air friction. Moreover, the laser gun was also equipped with bullets made of special materials. Just one bullet could penetrate 3 non-overlapping brick walls in an instant. There was once a spy who tried to sneak into Samsung's secret experimental base to steal computer data. This person relied on his professionalism to run out of the experimental base and wanted to drive away. In the end, someone in the experimental base, that was 100 meters away, was able to kill him with just one bullet. Within this short distance of 100 meters, there were a total of 5 walls, and all of them were walls that could withstand a kilogram of TNT explosion without breaking. In addition, the person who used the gun was Samsung's greatest secret force, Dark Shadow. This was like dozens of martial Dao masters, each carrying a mortar to chase after a dragon. Therefore, even if they knew that Yi Chen was the #1 person in China, Park Haixin and the Park family had the confidence to kill him. After all, no matter how powerful you were still human, facing Park Haixin's complacency. However, Yi Chen laughed out loud. Park Haixin felt as if she had been insulted and could not help but roar, "What are you laughing at? You're still laughing when you're about to die." I'm laughing at how ignorant you are and how reckless you are. Yi Chen stood with his hands behind his back and shook his head slightly. How dare you deal with me with just 20 pieces of trash and so-called technology? He was now at the Foundation establishment stage, and with his freakish physical body, not to mention laser guns and armor-piercing bullets, even if Korea used missiles, they would not be able to hurt him at all. Kill him! Park Haishin suddenly waved her hand, and dozens of laser guns fired at him at the same time. Countless lasers fell like meteors. When she looked again, Yi Chen was still safe and sound. Instead, he walked toward Park Haishin step by step with his hands behind his back. How is this possible? How is this possible? Park Haishin's expression changed, as if she had seen something unbelievable. The 20 or so dark shadow members she had brought along also revealed expressions as if they had seen a ghost. Ka. This time, without waiting for Park Haishin's orders, more than 20 shadow members took out a golden, long and sharp bullet from their bodies. The bullet was about the size of an adult's middle finger, and in the blink of an eye, it was loaded into the magazine. This was the bullet developed by Samsung. Just one of them was enough to penetrate 3 20 centimeters thick walls. Bang, bang, with a series of loud bangs, dozens of bullets hit Yi Chen's body. At that moment, sparks flew everywhere, and all these bullets were bounced off. Some of the shadow members who were close to Yi Chen were blown up by the ricocheted bullet. All of the power of a 3-star fighter was useless before Yi Chen. Park Haishin's face was filled with extreme fear. Seeing that Yi Chen was getting closer and closer, she could not help but panic. Stop him! Stop him! Swoosh! The 3 leading dark shadow commanders attacked him like ghosts. These 3 people were the strongest among all the dark shadow members. Each of them was strong enough to fight against 3 great grandmasters. Yi Chen's figure flashed, and he passed through the 3 of them. Almost at that moment, their bodies suddenly collapsed into ashes. They did not even have the time to scream. Seeing this scene, the eyes of the few remaining people revealed extreme fear. Was he a human or a ghost? Devil, he's a devil. No one knew who shouted, but he turned around and ran with a face full of fear. Then, he led everyone to stagger and run into the distance. Yes, they were afraid. This was the nightmare of the shadow. However, they had only run a few steps when they felt a huge suction force coming from behind them. It was as if they were grabbed by an invisible hand and they could not move. Yi Chen's eyes were as cold as knives as he took a step forward. Bang! The body of the shadow member closest to him exploded. He killed one person with one step. He took another step. Bang! Another person exploded into a mist of blood. The third step. During the entire process, Park Haishin fell to the ground. Her body trembled uncontrollably, and her face was as pale as a sheet. Everything that she was proud of in Samsung was in front of Yi Chen. It seemed too fragile. She began to regret it. She wanted to run. However, she could not muster up any strength at all. She could only watch Yi Chen walk towards her step by step with a face full of despair and terror. With every step he took, one of the people she brought with her would die. When Yi Chen approached, she suddenly trembled and peed on the spot. Don't kill me, don't kill me. I can give you money. As long as you want, I can give it to you. I'm a director of Samsung. I have 12% of the shares. I also have 5 private companies and 8 properties. I can give all of these to you, but as long as you don't kill me. Yi Chen smiled disdainfully in the face of her subservience. He raised his hand and grabbed her. I didn't come to look for you, but you took the initiative to look for me. Since that's the case, take me to the Park family. Park family. Park Hyundong and Jindo, who was sitting in a wheelchair, were leisurely playing chess. Han Dongxing was still kneeling on the ground without moving, but he could not hide the excitement between his brows. In his opinion, the outcome of Park Haishin bringing Samsung's Shadow and the most advanced technology to deal with Mad Southern Yi was obvious. In that case, he might not have to die. Pa! Park Hyundong crossed the Chu River and Han border with a red cannon in his hand. He knocked off Jindo's elephant on the spot. Then, he said in a deep voice, "Uncle, if Mad Southern Yi dies in Korea, do you think China will take the opportunity to make things difficult for us?" Although Mad Southern Yi was strong, he was only one person after all. Compared to him, China was the one to be feared. "No." Jindo pushed the soldier out and said without raising his head, "China is a vast land with abundant resources. There are many talented people. If one Mad Southern Yi dies, there will be a second Mad Southern Zhao and a third Mad Southern Yang." At this point, he smiled faintly and pointed at his eaten elephant. "Just like this elephant. After it's eaten, I still have an elephant and 2 soldiers. Moreover, according to the information we received, Mad Southern Yi doesn't hold a position in China's officialdom or military." His apt analogy made Park Hyundong completely relax. From the beginning to the end, the two of them did not talk about whether Park Haishin could kill Mad Southern Yi because it was not worth discussing. That was a fact that was already destined. Just at this moment, an enormous sound that shook the heavens and the earth resounded from outside, and it caused the two of them to be shocked. A young man ran in a panic and stammered, "Bad news, master, someone is here."